Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Fight Night Rising. My name is Khroen, and alongside me, we have Boopasaurus. Boop, how are you doing tonight? How are you feeling about these games coming up?
I am very excited. If anything from the last couple competitive looks at some of these lobbies are, we're in for some diversity. We're in for some philosophy as well. So I'm pretty excited about today in general, and always to be with you, Crowan, and everyone watching. It's always so great.
Likewise, with that sentiment there, Boop, we are on a new patch today, so it's always exciting to see how players adapt to that. But what players will be adapting to it? Let's check out the player list here. We have, of course, the returning champion Infernix, Kook as well returning, and joining them are ACommonQuail. I like that name.
Yeah,
I am
that's it.
Boneapple T, OolongTeaForme, also like that name, Noster 11, kstan, and Zan Syed.
We've got the battle for the tea. Look, you got bone apple tea and oolong tea for me. Look at that. A common quail, that's nice. But to answer your question, I think I've always got to look at Infernix, who tends to come in here and play very, very well.
Oh yeah,
It's going to be, I believe, the second week back, coming in from that win last week, which was pretty solid.
it was very dominant. 1 point off the
Yeah,
record.
almost. And
Yeah.
so the whole lobby, I would say, is kind of looking up there. Is Infernix. When I look at this group of players outside of Noster, is probably the only other person I would think who could find mega consistent success at the top side of the leaderboard. I think anyone here can win a lobby, but if I were to bet on the two players that could maybe win multiple lobbies today, I would go with Noster and Infernix.
Definitely agreed. And of course, these players are going to be competing for that portion of the prize pool. The rising prize pool, $200 total, 100 of which will go to first place. Second place will go $50. Third and fourth, $25 apiece. And like usual, top three will be invited back for next week. And Infernix trying to make that 3 week period because Infernix had a really strong week where they apparently weren't actually too hard on themselves. They were just kind of like having fun with
Allegedly.
it. Yeah, allegedly did not or weren't too hard on themselves there. It could have fooled me. It was pretty convincing performance there they had in the interview.
Hmm.
But no, still, Infernix going to be, as you mentioned, such a strong player. They had 35 points total last week over 4 games. I believe they got 2 firsts, a third, and a second. Yeah, that equals 35. Quick caster math, and that's a very, very strong performance. The only other player who did get all top fours was Kook, actually, but it was with a fourth, and a second. So still some good consistency there. So maybe these names like Infernix and Noster, as you mentioned, will be joined once again by Kook. But maybe some of these newcomers will have something to say about that.
Something that we definitely have to look at is how the game kind of tightens up near the late game. I've personally been finding a lot more success off of some reroll comps. Tristana is back, in my opinion. There are some adjustments in this B patch to some things that were a little on the strong side. More didn't let the keeper situation go that long, which is, I don't know, a little unfortunate. I kind of liked the comp, just like to watch it and stuff. I think it was pretty thrilling, because the Kennen timing and stuff. The Kennen
Yeah.
was very, very strong, and so I like the changes that are coming in. And what adjustments we're going to see, I think, is we're going to see that middle ground of reroll versus late game
Yeah.
team comps, kind of finding that tension a little bit longer. So we might see some of these reroll comps finish one or two spots higher than they initially would have on the last patch, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely, because they're gonna be stronger as well. Even just looking at the Diana change, the shield amount from her ability at tier 3 goes up to 450, and yeah, that's pretty significant. A whole 100 HP increase there. I wouldn't be surprised to see some Spirit Diana assassin compositions come out. There is still the Nasus tier 3 damage goes up by 100 as well. The Nidalee mana goes from 70 to 60. Like there are so many changes that do bring real compositions, hopefully to a stable place in the meta, not one where they will dominate, but one where they will have a place in the meta that they can be an option to run.
I have played 3 or 4 games today, and the winning, comp has been different all 4 games.
Yeah.
And so I'm really, really excited about it. The item combinations are similar between a lot of the comps. You'll see that, like, Kale and Olaf can share similar items. But what you're gonna be noticing is more of a decision on whether to commit on your one cost, right? So, for example, for something like me, um, I was playing. I started with the Tristana, just like Oolong is doing right now, and then I packed 2 more, and then there are 3 more Tristanas on the other thing, and I was like, okay, I can go Tristana now, but
Yep.
Tristana can also hold all of the Kale items, can also hold all of the Olaf items, right? And so, or I can build for Tristana. And so I decided actually to let Kale hold these items because I've been trying to see if Kale's good or not. At least for me, and it ended up working out really, really well. But I could totally have seen if I committed to that Tristana also doing well. So that's
Yeah.
what's really, really exciting about this particular iteration. I do think reroll comps are still weaker than some of our
Yeah.
stronger like late game 5 cost comps with fully itemized sets and stuff like that. But we should see, I think, these HP totals be a little bit closer,
Yep.
as well as providing the option of flexible play to some of our players, which I know someone who's not here right now, Contrado from last week, probably would have really enjoyed for this week.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of Kale as well, actually, it's very, very curious to me, and I want to kind of pose this kind of statement just to keep an eye on over the course of today. If we do see Kales, what the itemization actually is, if it is 1 defensive item or if it is 3 DPS items, because I've, in the recent little couple days, seen actually a fair bit of success with the triple DPS item Kale and just using actually just Azir as the quote-unquote defensive item for Kale, because what's going to be one of the biggest threats is going to be Aatrox. A lot of people running Aatrox right now instead of wanting to as your front line. You get a solid comp, you put Aatrox Sedge in there, boom, like, and then throw some other synergies, maybe like Adept, something in there, and that's your composition. But Azir can solo deal with Aatrox, and Kale just kind of with a Hodge maybe as like a pseudo defensive item, you can just get some healing with lifesteal there. So I'll be curious to see if Kale is ran, what iteration of her these players will gravitate towards. Of course, it'll depend on what items they get and the pacing of the game, but even still, there is multiple directions that you can go there.
And I think Kale has gone through a little bit of an evolution just in general, because remember last week, only 1 Kale comp made it to the top 2,
Yeah.
right? Not a single Kale comp won, right? So there, I think, was room for some improvement on what these Kales can run. I think the Duelist Kale can be absolutely terrifying. A triple offensive item approach, and you have that option available to you. But something else I also wanted to build upon on what you were talking about there is the decision-making process between, you know, that early game and the late game. You can think about that Kale, right? And you can build towards that Kale, but this game isn't going to give you Kale sometimes, right? So you've got to be able to adjust appropriately. And something I've noticed about a lot of these early game comps is they're a lot more open and flexible than they were in the past, right? Before,
Yeah.
you would get your Chosen and you'd hit 9 Warlords, right? You'd get your Chosen and then you do 4 Spirit and then maybe go Legendaries later. Now you'll have like Cultist Keeper openings that might turn into something else a little bit later. You know, you'll buy a Chosen for a singular round, sell it to find another one on the next round. It's a lot more flexible here in the early game, and I want to emphasize that because I feel like a lot of people throw this part of the game away and they
Yeah.
kind of just go like, what I get is what I get. But I think there's a little bit more individuality and skill expression on this part of the game than there has been in the past.
Definitely, it does come down to what items you choose to slam as well. Actually, if anyone in chat, and you, of course, familiar with K3 Soju, which most people are, Soju, it's an eighth. Sometimes, you know, noticeably gets a little bit tilted by some people in chat saying some things. There was a chat message once. It's like, oh, why are you hard forcing Kale? And Soju's like, no, look at my items, right? Like, there's a RFC, or I think it was RFC. No, I think it was like double Rage Blade and a Hodge. And he's like, literally, what else am I going to play with this, right? Kale is one of the, if you're building Rage Blades, you can't really substitute that out for anybody else. Not many people right now in the meta, if really any besides Kale, utilize Rage Blade to that effectiveness. So you got to be careful if you are going to commit to that early game. You got to be scouting, got to be on top of who's looking like they may go Kale. And even if there's not many people, am I actually going to hit at that point? Because if you don't, you really have to have a backup plan, or you're just kind of running your head into a wall right there and just hoping. And if it doesn't work out, then you're like, oh man, how couldn't it have worked? Like, how could this have not worked out?
I totally agree. And the thing about that Kale thing too is like 5 people sometimes will run Kale.
Yeah.
Right. And it goes, everyone just has Kale 1 for a while. And we'll talk about that when we get there. But a unit that we're seeing on the board right now that has been absolutely destroying me and my friends so far is everyone seems to be getting Callista 3 recently, and that seems to be doing really well. Callista 1 in the early game is still probably one of the, it's like Kindred, one of the better 3 costs just to
Yeah.
single item naked unit on the field. Is going to be a big reason why you take down 2, maybe even 3 of these units with this Callista. But the duelist comp, the reroll duelist comp, has found a little bit more popularity. I got second on it a little earlier today. So that's been, again, one of my biggest questions is, are we going to see the reemergence of any of these things? Because I feel like it's statistically improbable that every reroll comp is just not good right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think literally Yasuo is the one that I didn't happen to mention earlier when going over those changes, and Yasuo did get buffed as well. Actually, his ability will do has a higher ratio, I believe. It goes up at tier 3 from 190, yeah, 190 to 210%. With that attack damage ratio, so still will be doing more damage as well. If you're going to be running duelists, it's more is likely for it to be a bit better now. You know, you have to also take into account if other one cost compositions are getting buffed and they're going to be played, it is a natural buff to if you play it as well, because taking one cost out of the pool makes it easier for you to find the one cost that you do like. Always have to keep that in mind. So reroll comps benefit everyone in that meta. Taking a look over here at the board of Kook, one of the players who top 4 every single game last week, one of the 2 players, is sitting on some choices right now. The choice, firstly, to level up to level 5, which I think is very good, and build a Runeans and sell the Sivir, actually. They don't want to commit to it. Sivir being a 3-cost carry that's actually good in this meta, building like Last Whisper, i.e., yeah, it did get nerfed, but it still is going to be still gonna be pretty strong. Well, the nerf was I believe in this recent patch, yeah, the nerf was at tier 3. The bonus damage goes from 400 to 350, but even still, that's 350 bonus damage. Like, it's still a strong unit to carry.
It's damage you didn't have when you started, right? So that feels great. Very interesting too, because the synergy between Callista and Sivir is really well known. Attack speed with Callista, especially with Runeans, is amazing. And Kook actually gets destroyed by stronger cultist comp on the other side of the board. So where do we go from here, right? So let's take a look at what we're looking at. So we're moving into brawlers, right? We had our early chosen, and when you see Sir Thomas on the field, it's probably as a brawler. And if you're cray cray like me, then you're running Fortune 6. But you're probably looking at some brawler boys and gals, and that's what you're seeing in the front line. And this is what I was talking about by the early game being a little bit more flexible. This is a full pivot to something completely different, because a lot of the units that Kook originally had, other people are going for right now. So this might actually open Kook up for some more possibilities, and actually gets a moderately friendly matchup in the meantime against Infernix.
Yeah, the Shyvana does jump towards the Kindred, but it doesn't end up mattering. Actually, I think it was a good Nidalee Spear to take down that unit. Infernix going to be taking yet another loss. Is the lowest HP in the lobby right now, but not too scared for him. Infernix oftentimes does find their way back. Will be Apple T actually dropping just a little bit further, but I think Brawlers, well, they did get nerfed in 11.4. They still can find their way into this meta, into a kind of dominating, honestly, sometimes position. You have to high roll a little bit, you know, get that Shyvana 3 online, but once you do find Set and able to get him online, so with some good positioning, some good awareness, you can still take a lobby win, albeit, you know, is a bit weaker than before. But then again, a lot of things to get nerfed as well, so you can still go toe-to-toe.
The other big, I think, change that some people were looking at, or some specific players, are Viger players, who he got a pretty nifty buff, in my opinion. And I was actually playing in a tournament on Monday, and I decided to run a Viger carry because I had perfect items for it. And just at the end of the game, it didn't matter what items I had on that Viger, because I might as well not have had one. He was dead the whole time. And what was actually most frustrating about it was actually how many times I almost killed people with that ult. And what this changes is you're actually going to get the kill this time, and you're going to actually start ramping up. You're going to give someone 2 AP for every kill, but not give them enough to actually execute anyone. The ramp up's going to be pretty difficult, and so the Viger opportunities are definitely there. As Bone Apple T, great subreddit, by the way, everyone, has some good item options. Has the Hextech Gunblade for the ASOL, or the Can make someone a Dragon Soul, could get the Jewel
Yeah.
Gauntlet on too. This is, I mean, he,
Option paralysis.
yeah, has definitely a perfect item for a soul, right? Depends which one we go with, I think, in this situation, because
Yeah.
making someone a Dragon Soul here could be fun.
Or if you're even going Aurelion Soul to begin with, you don't have to here. You look at this item combination, and you can see a lot of things, to be honest. It could be Jewel Gauntlet Aurelion Soul, obviously it could be Gunblade Aurelion Soul. You have a Hodge right now, you have half of a Rage Blade, you have half of a GA, it could be Kale, we could still go Olaf, could still go Tryndamere, could just go for Samira as well. Rolling past your Tryndamere here. Finding some Chosens. That isn't Aatrox, however, but 0 gold on 3-2 on level 6. Sometimes, I mean, you would like to, or it's not bad, excuse me, to roll down, but you don't really want to be rolling down this much to make your board not that much stronger, honestly. Looking at this, it didn't really do all that much here, but what will do a lot is going to be actually committing some items. So we do actually commit the Gunblade, which makes me think that, especially with the Elderwood Nunu in shop, if Bon Appetit picks this up, this will be an Aurelion Soul kind of commitment here.
Ooh, clutch Cannon ult. I think that is going to be enough to get at least one more A-Soul ult off, but not enough to win the round. Kook hasn't lost, I believe, since the last time we were on their profile. So, question for you, Khroen. What is this 3-2 roll down about? A lot of people doing the 3-2 roll down. I think a lot of people know to roll down at 3-2 if they need something. But what is kind of like the surrounding details that cause that to be such a common play?
I think largely it is the increased chosen odds. You're more likely to find a chosen in your shops. So people oftentimes, if they don't have one or they sell those from the early game, they're gonna be rolling down to get them get a chosen that can get them through the mid game. Also, just if you're not strong enough, it's okay to roll down here as long as you get a strong board that can preserve HP. You want to preserve HP, it's just a simple basic TFT fact there. But I think those reasons combined are why we see this happen so much more often. You're more likely to actually have that roll down be worth it, whereas previously it oftentimes was not. You'd have to get lucky to make it worth it, but now there's more consistency there.
Yeah, and if you get lucky, you can get 50 gold again by 4-1 and do the same thing. If you get a middling chosen and you kind of just need to get to 4-1, I think rolling at 3-2 is another really good option. We hit that 10 gold, so Bon Appetit will be getting at least a little bit of interest. No items on the board, I believe, but there is a large rod on the A-Soul. So if we want to grab that and then potentially risk having that stay on there for a bit, or we can sell it for 4 gold, put the Jewel Gauntlet on.
Or you can pop it off with the Dragon Soul Spat.
True. Very true. What's your favorite Dragon Soul spat holder?
Oh boy, favorite Dragon Soul spat holder. Oh boy. I don't know. I'll ask it to you at first while I think about it. I'm not actually sure.
Okay. 2 things. I like putting attack speed items on tanks for no particular reason other than I think it's funny when they attack fast. And so I like putting Dragon Soul items on Tom Kench or Annie. Right. in that building. Have you ever built and you can do this on Braum too, double Rage Blade tank frontline on your Dragon Soul? It can be hilarious. It'll win you a round or two.
Not on. Wait, was it? I think we saw it last week. The Rage Blade on a Nautilus, was it?
Yeah, and it won a round.
Yeah, and it won many rounds actually,
right.
because the Nautilus was actually unkillable with being tier 3'd and fabled and having a lot of vanguards and those buffs to support it. So I mean, hey, you're onto something here, definitely. I think if that unit lasts the whole entire fight, those auto attacks are going to be coming through quick.
Yeah, everyone's going to be Tristana at that point in time, right? But that's for the poops and giggles. But in reality, I like things like someone who is going to get those auto attacks off. But I think one of the beautiful things about Dragon Soul is itself kind of balancing on ranged versus tanks and how the first person to take damage is going to get the soul. And that makes it kind of hard because it feels obvious to put it on someone like Sivir, right, who's going to attack a lot, but Sivir might not ever get the tag. So that's the biggest issues. We're in Zan Syed now, and whose house is much cleaner than mine. Who is actually feeling, I don't think this is the worst board in the world. We want to get away from Warlord at some point, but Sejuani is such a contested unit right now. Like you said,
Oh
Aatrox
yeah.
and Sejuani are so good in particular that it makes items like Trap Claw and QSS better for the meta. That's how much they're showing up, and the Sejuani is going to help get a couple kills here.
Yeah, Nidalee probably gonna find a couple more as well. Probably kill off the. Oh no,
That
does not kill
buff.
off the Elise. Yeah, all right. I mean, still not a terrible loss there. It would have liked to go on a bit of a 2-win streak, of course, leading into the Wolves here, but they're going to be going to level 7 next round and rolling it down, I believe. Probably selling the Nidalee, looking for a Kale. I believe on level 7, actually, one of the recent changes is you're going to be less likely to see a 4-cost chosen. I believe it goes down, yeah, to 2%, down from 5 to actually find that there. And yeah, they actually just sell the they sell the Nidalee already to give a bit of a chance to, if they get some gold, pre-level to 7 and maybe find a lucky chosen. Also, the Lucky Lantern this game did grant 2 item reforgers, so we'll see if people decide to reforge any components to get the items of their choice, or just save it for late game, maybe like a carousel item that they don't particularly want, or something of the sort.
Components are much better to reforge, in my opinion, because completed items are inherently less flexible than uncompleted items, right? So
Yeah.
if you have a large rod, for example, and you have like 3 tiers, right? You might get baited into like putting 2 tiers onto someone, get that blue buff, and reforge that for a complete item. However, you can put 1 tier on and maybe land a cloak, for example, right? Make that into a chalice with one of those tiers, and you can start mixing and matching from there. So item components, it might feel like a waste because it's just one item component, but it actually might give you more flexibility throughout the game than you might have anticipated, as Rageblade's going to go on Teemo, which is annoying, but isn't going to be like a game-winning team comp or item slam at all.
Yeah, I wonder what direction that Zan Syed is going to be going here. The roll down, I don't know if they intentionally just only wanted to roll down to 30, or if the roll down was a bit like slow, but it did seem to come out a bit slow either way. And I think what would have been a bit stronger here is to actually have put that Teemo in the middle, where the Kindred is, and put both of the items on there. As just kind of item carrier, because I don't think we're sticking with Teemo for the whole game here. There's not really going to be the possibility of getting that to. I mean, yes, there's the possibility, of course, getting to tier 3, but it is going to be rather unlikely. We are just going to be going with the 4 Spirit 4 Vanguard for now. This will get you maybe through the mid game, but we still got a long way to go before we're really strong here. So, got to start committing some more items, perhaps. And yeah, the Rod goes on, and now the Jewel Gauntlet goes into the Teemo. Could have made that round before, but a little bit slow decision making there. But we'll see how it works out for them.
This is looking like a Kale comp.
Yeah.
You could do Rageblade, Jewel Gauntlet on the Kale, and there tends to be a Spirit package around Kale if you want even more attack speed, right? Because there was an argument to not build attack speed items on some of our auto attackers in the backline and build spirits around them to compensate, but the Rageblade and the RFC for Kale just so important. As we go over to OolongTeaForme, got some little
Hey, there's some tea there.
Yeah.
Blocking in the middle of the shop, but we still see
Why
the
is
name
there
though,
a
so it's
pine
fine.
cone there?
For aesthetic purposes, Boop, of course.
I mean,
I took a photography class in college. It's there for the composition, okay? I'm the authority of speaking on it, of course. No, but I don't know. It looks okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty. But boba is it's like an attractive looking drink.
Yeah,
is that
definitely.
weird?
No,
Yeah,
I think that's very accurate.
Like if I were like a painter or something, like this would feel fun to paint. Anyway, OolongTeaForme, Oolong Tea, very good. Had it for the first time on an airplane. Just letting you guys know. To Singapore. Yeah, it was awesome. As we have Rageblade and Hodge on this TF. And this is where, again, like we just saw Syed's comp, and now we're seeing this one, and they're looking moderately familiar, but neither of them have what they need to push fully into Kale. So where is that going to go, right? That's the skill. You know, we use terms like skill expression a lot, but that is the skill expression, is how you get in, how you settle, and how you get out of certain comps. And right now, both Syed and OolongT are. The opportunity for skill expression is how we get into that Divine Executioner potential, because Oolong could potentially switch over to Olaf or something because of the Cultist package that is already here.
I think we're already seeing some of that skill expression actually already come through. Just even how we get to this point right now on the stage 4 carousel. Oolong T for me has 73 HP towards the top of the lobby because of the very specific decision to play 6 cultist here. And even though TF might be objectively just weaker than like a Teemo carry, they are just going to be strong with this synergies that are on board. Now Oolong T gets to go level 8 with about 50 gold and roll down at this point, and the roll downs are coming through. The Dragon Soul chosen Olaf gets found, but it gets passed over. And now with 10 seconds left, it's like, ooh, how do I then make it so where I'm not becoming weaker? And I guess picking up a Vanguard chosen Aatrox is going to be very good, but we don't pick up anything else. And what's going to hold our items right now, right? The Sivir. And yeah, they go on the Sivir, but it's not great. We, I think, got a little bit weaker here.
And that would have been okay, I think, if we had actually picked up that Dragon Soul chosen, because then our Swain would have been Dragon Souled, and we would have put him in, but we're actually selling the Swain, and we're going to go a completely different direction instead. So
Yeah.
I think a little, not closed-minded, but, or inflexible, I guess, in the thinking there, but this is still looking like an executioner type of composition based on what is on the bench. Yeah. Noster, though, going to be running Tryndamere, probably like the man of the patch when it comes to people talking and complaining at this point.
Yeah, let's see here. Going to be scatting around a little bit. We do see one Nico comp. We see a Duelist Kale. I love Duelist Kale. Definitely a best in slot for Duelist, and double Chalice actually on that Kindred as well with the Death Cap. There's 2 defensive items on the Kale with the GA and the QSS, but perhaps there's enough attack speed coming out from the Duelist to make it worth it here. Noster's composition is kind of strong, but still kind of a ways to go here before we get to an optimal point. We're having chosen Warlord Tryndamere, but no Warlord synergy. We have Aurelion Soul being the kind of item carrier for this. I think maybe we want to pivot that over to being an Olaf. It will give Slayer as well as just benefit from these items a bit more. Aurelion Soul, not bad, however, but still not going to be able to stand to Kook and these Brawlers. And hey, this is why I say Brawlers, I think, are still going to be pretty solid. Kook on level 8, not close to Shyvana 3, I don't believe, but still, this win streak here, we've talked about it before, just having an HP advantage can get you a free top 4 in and of itself.
Yeah, War of Attrition is a real thing here. Unfortunately for Noster, we need to find some units. It looks like we rolled and found a really good chosen and nothing else. And we're starting to get there. Let me get the Bash Brothers Redux online, which is that Olaf and Tryndamere. Then, I mean, just with those 2 units at tier 2, you're probably okay. But unfortunately for Noster, the chosen Tryndamere he got was Warlord, which is not what you want. Is not a perfect item slot in this situation, but with a, let's see, Reforger, we're definitely going to reforge something here.
We could just make a chalice, I guess, and call it a day. It's not terrible, but we also could reforge. Oh, there was a bow on there as well, so actually, yeah, there might be a reforge coming through now that you mention it.
I wonder where the last carry item is going to go in terms of the Tryndamere or the Olaf. So when we watch Sphinx play, all Tryndamere. Right, other people are going to be putting it on Olaf. We talk about primary and secondary carries. In this particular meta, you can kind of choose Tryndamere or Olaf or both if you get the right items. And Last Whisper on Tryndamere is a wonderful start for that. So is Runins on Olaf.
Ooh, that's a high roll. Reforge the Lunins into a Hodge. That's so good for Noster here. Putting it on the Tryndamere. That round was played just about perfectly, I think. And there was a lot of decision making that had to happen there. Like, that's an impressive turn.
Totally agree. And the reasoning behind that was this was not the comp we had just 1 round ago.
It's like, similar, yeah, but yeah, go for it.
It's just substantially stronger. We've got 3 items on the Tryndamere now. We've got the Olaf 2, which opens up possibilities for things like Pike coming up later. And something else I want everyone to notice is the fact that Noster is just letting the Warlord synergy go, right? There's no need to force that right now because this is better. 3 Slayers is better, and we're just using those for the stats right now for the Tryndamere. Because Last Whisper on Tryndamere is one of those like auto procs with his ult, and it's so good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is... Noster now has a potential lobby winning comp if the rest of the lobby kind of is a little bit more friendly. But with the Sejuani 2, fully itemized Tryndamere and this Olaf getting online too, this is going to be tough to beat.
Oh yeah, I'm loving what I'm seeing here. Zan Syed falls again. Zan Syed did have a Kale 1. Had a Zaya chosen, I believe at that point it would probably be the Executioner chosen, in order to just, be worth running it at all. But Noster is probably going to go on a big win streak here. I'd be curious to see how this composition does stack up against the 8 Brawler, I believe, that KEWK does have at this point. I'll be curious to check that out once again soon. One Apple T did unfortunately fall in 8th place here, and actually, Infernix did just hit Kale 2. They are 6 HP, but hopefully can have a bit of a comeback with that at this point.
Kale 2 is not the set it and forget it carry that I think a lot of people want her to be.
Yeah.
Kale 2 isn't necessarily going to guarantee you a round win, even depending on where everyone else is going. There are Aatroxes around. There are things like Tryndamere, so you also have to be very careful about how you position. KEWK has the set, and that's the hardest part, I think, of getting to the end of this comp.
Yep.
So that's going to go ahead and start doing some sit-ups. I love putting even just that, tier 1 Lulu in, because a singular Lulu ult, is going to help set do some push-ups. But KEWK is going to lose against Infernix. So you got exactly what you asked for in terms of that matchup. The Kale is going to end up in the middle of the field, but is going to be A-okay because of that duelist spat.
Yeah, the Kale is positioned in 3rd row there. It'll oftentimes give her a bit better positioning and a bit better angle to deal as much effective damage as possible. It was also unfortunate there for KEWK that the Cho'Gath that happens to have the Redemption literally died second to last after almost everything else was dead besides the set. So unfortunate there. Maybe it did die last. Either way, it didn't really have impact at all. KEWK going to be grabbing this, I believe that was a Jeweled Gauntlet. Ooh, scouting out on seeing the Tryndamere with the Triforce there, and the GA with the Samira. Samira did get changed, whereas I believe she's a bit better now, as long as she's not holding Deathblade, but with Deathblade, she's going to be a bit worse. I think that's kind of how it evens out there. So curious to see how Samira carries will fare here. A Nico 3 being achieved by kstan. We don't unfortunately have their perspective, I believe, but maybe we'll get to see their matchup from someone else's perspective.
And Fabled, I would say on average, is probably one of the highest achieving tournament team comps and ladder team comps. If you get there, it can be tough to get there. Like kstan is at 7 HP, but if you get that Nico 3, and if you're lucky enough to also get a Vanguard spat on her, that is a lobby winning comp, no problem.
Oh yeah.
ACommonQuail is going to be who we're going to be seeing next. That Sivir still tier 1 from when we saw, but ACommonQuail actually doing quite good so far in terms of HP, is in 1st place. That Samira is going to be able to take a couple people down. It's going to be all up to you with this set. Is that ult even going to be able to go off? Yes, but not enough damage, as KEWK is losing HP by a lot every single round so far. And this is the thing about Brawlers, is you got to gold a couple of them, I think, if you want to win that lobby. Definitely got to get that set too. That is not up for debate, in my opinion.
Oh, kstan actually lost there with the Nico 3. I wonder who they lost to. Not 100% sure. I wasn't looking at the side there when the round losses and wins were coming through. But KEWK now has the decision of trying to greed out level to 9. Get a higher chance to maybe find the set 2 at that point, or just roll at level 8 to try to find Shyvana 3. Shyvana 3, while being able to still find set 2, might be a bit better here, but we'll see what direction they end up going. Still 2 Reforgers here. Might use it on whatever this next neutral minion will give, if it is not going to be a good one. But I like this positioning here. You have the set and the Redemption in the front line right now, and then everyone else positioned just a little bit further back.
Ooh, but there's a Yone 2 on the other side and had a really great ult as well. And the set, the Jeweled Gauntlet, not really pushing as much damage as I would have expected, to be completely honest with you. As the Nunu is going to be okay for now, but it's going to be tough to break through this Yone, especially at tier 2 with a blue buff. And again, just not a ton of damage. 2 ults from set and doesn't even out damage that Nunu. That's a little concerning.
Yeah. Definitely. At this point in the game, sure, you've gotten your HP lead advantage, but it is now slowly dwindling. Infernix and Zan Syed fell there, so we have our top 4 already at 5-7. High enough HP for 3 members here to be safe even after 1 loss, but OolongT on the feeling the pressure right now, on the cusp of being eliminated. Did get a Morello's there, which is actually huge. That's so insane to pick up there. Actually, ACommonQuail is going to be scouting out the other items and gets an Ionic Spark for themselves. That will probably end up being reforged, I would imagine. We'll see.
There are like two situations where I think you can get mad at RNG in this game. Number one is just like you get the bad spawn on an item you want on carousel. That's like the big, I think, most frustrating one. And that kind of happens and it's part of the game. The second one is the Nexus minion item, right?
Yeah.
Because when I play, I'll get a spat item that has nothing to do with my team comp, while like my friends in the lobby get, you know, Morellos or stuff that they can use. But what's really cool about what we're seeing from ACommonQuail is it's our only use of Ornn so far. These Ornn items, like Triforce on Tryndamere, it sounds terrifying.
Yeah, the Death's Defiance actually got reforged there into a gold collector, but that's going to be put on a silver one, so not a huge amount of value there. Now it's going to be that Yone and Talon versus the Tryndamere, but the Tryndamere and Samira will win out. OolongT, ooh, okay, barely survives there. 2 HP, but ACommonQuail still on a win streak, up to 7, almost 100 gold here. Like, ACommonQuail is in such dominant position, even gonna be going for that Tryndamere 3, as we do see 2 Tryndameres on the bench, but they can just chill. There are no rush to roll down or to force, below 50 econ to level up. They can chill, maybe even wait until, say, if Noster loses a few rounds in a row, more Tryndameres back in the pool. Probably don't need to get to that point, but man, the dominant position here is so nice.
2 Tryndamere players still in the game. By the way, they're both in the first 2 spots. I think you can definitely be attracted to building all your items onto the Olaf, but the Tryndamere seems to be carrying a lot of the weight, especially with these Ornn items that are available. And the Slayer buff is going to help with that lifesteal, even through this grievous wound you're seeing. Like, one extra auto attack sometimes is enough to win out a round. This one's going to be a little bit harder because Set finally does target the right unit, and his ear is going to fall. That's in his year too. That actually may have taken down Tom, but we had 100 gold before that and a 20 HP advantage. We're totally cool with losing that round. Now though, we gotta get one more loop tightened on that belt and start thinking about winning this lobby.
Yep, gonna be going to 9 right now. I thought they could have greeted one more round, but I mean, still leveling to put the unit in. They can still roll down next turn. They don't need to roll it all down. Currently, set 2 was found from KEWK in that last round, as well as pushing to 9. So that's why we saw that composition be so much stronger there. A bit of a slight repositioning coming out from ACommonQuail here, though. But now they face Noster.
Noster's had an interesting week. I'll talk about that later because I'm involved. It's going to be a little bit hashtag bragging in front of everybody, but ACommonQuail, though, let's get through this game first. 52 HP is not going to be where we finish for ACommonQuail, but only losing 10 HP on round 6-3 is okay at that level, but now we're only 3 HP away, as KEWK should finish in the top 4 with those Brawlers. Such a standard comp, but the thing about the Brawler comp is I think you can go for that top 4, maybe even a top 2, but getting that win I think requires a little bit of help from Destiny, right? You got to get maybe an Elderwood spat or Vanguard spat for somebody, and then I think it'll be a little bit easier, because if the damage comes too quickly, then it's kind of over for those Brawlers.
Yeah, if you're countered by, Morellos, if someone happens to have a Giant Slayer, which ACommonQuail does, that's going to be even better at taking out the Brawlers. They're kind of going to melt in that situation. It's unlikely, I think, for the Brawlers to achieve a first in this game, but still, even just getting to that point speaks to the strength of that consistent top 4 comp. And KEWK from last week, consistent 4th, and then 2nd, they're already doing a bit better, getting at least a 3rd in this game number 1.
I love that. You know how much I love, seeing players come back after a week and doing better than the times that we've seen before. But the other thing that we're not seeing in the top 3 right now is Kale. So is it a matter of Kale being just so hotly contested, a la Mech from back in the day, and they're holding hands into the bottom 4? Because all of our Kale players are eliminated, and so that is a theme that we see here on Fight Night. It's been 2 weeks now. However, on your qualifiers, Kale won 6 lobbies or something like that. So what is the difference? Why are we seeing such a difference in in that singular champ, because I don't believe Kale was touched in terms of that patch.
I don't believe so. I suppose it's kind of just lobby specific, honestly, in a lot of sense there. It's just what players are willing to run. Sometimes it happens to work out, sometimes it doesn't. I don't think Kale, we should write it off as, yeah, people shouldn't go it here on this fight night because it will just lose. It still can. It just comes down to a lot of specifics and how the game goes there. I'm not really... I mean, other buffs definitely have a part to play, other nerfs. Obviously, seeing as Kale wasn't specifically touched, but there is a lot to it there.
It's very interesting to me. It's honestly one of the most fascinating things that, like, you know, I discuss by my, you know, like in the shower, right? You just think about things. I think about Kale. And
I'm sure Kale appreciates it.
Let me finish the sentence because that's going to be important here. I think, and I really take time and I think about why, when I play Kale, when a lot of my friends and when I see people on Fight Night play Kale, it just doesn't work. And then I read and I watch Kale win 6 times at a tournament literally 2 days later, right? Like, the game hasn't really changed. It's fascinating to me how metas on ladder are your ladder metas, but in a tournament, your meta is part of your lobby. It might match what's going on on the ladder, but it's more lobby specific, and these lobbies have definitely been Tryndamere lobbies, Slayer lobbies, for sure, with a little bit of Brawler. As this Brawler comp actually ripping off a win or two every once in a while. I mean, if that set ults a tanky unit in the front line like that, Sejuani, you're going to be able to take a couple of these units out, no problem.
Yeah, a couple things. Noster was one gold off of having a literal perfect roll down there. Hitting the Lee Sin 2, hitting everything tier 2, just that Zillion. Has to be locked if you lose, but if you win, just be able to buy it outright there. ACommonQuail there now has Samira 2, Lee Sin 2 of their own, and that's so strong right now. This can be a hard comp to deal with.
Lee Sin is the ultimate game changer, right? Doesn't matter how much HP you have, he can just knock you out unless you are that Olaf. And we're going to get that early elimination. That was the screen changed really early there. But yeah, that's going to be it for our first lobby, as ACommonQuail leads for, I believe, about 14 rounds and ends up winning out in the end.
Yeah. No, that was super well played. The composition was very strong. And I actually just had a thought that I wanted to elaborate on from when you asked me about Kale. And I think it's easy if you are a low challenger or high master a player to say, okay, I recognize Kale is good, let me just not really think too much, but I'm gonna run it because I know it's good. They can still play it decently, but I think in this meta right now, Kale really needs to be approached with caution and with I guess purpose, right? You have to only go Kale when it's actually a good look for it. And I think that these top of the leaderboard players and people who are competing in qualifiers to compete at the literal world championships are going to be able to approach Kale in the scenarios where she's going to be more effective or it's safer too. And I think that's something that I've noticed, because I was like, why is that such a thing? Because I do agree with you. And I broke it down. And I'm like, no, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Kale is easy to just say, hey, I can run it, but then it doesn't go well. But it's actually harder than a lot of the compositions right now to fully execute on in terms of the pivot, the transition, and getting your composition fully online in the end.
I totally agree with you. I think the way that you said it is exactly how I feel about it. It's, you got to be intentional about it. Kale is going to be okay in 80% of the situations, but will only win you your lobby in 5 of them, 5%, right? As we go into the top 8 here, ACommonQuail is at 10 points. What a great opening for ACommonQuail. We've got Noster at 8 and Kook at 7. Everyone else looking up at that top 3. Bon Apple T in 8th. Kstan with that Fabled comp, actually. Wanted to talk about that a little bit in 7th. I don't remember the last time I saw a Fabled comp get 7th. So they probably went up against when ACommonQuail was at that 80 HP, 80 gold or something like that. I'd be very curious to see how they were able to break through a Nico 3 at that situation, because it's weird to see that in 7th place.
Yeah, it's probably going to be off the back of a Slayer like Last Whisper composition that was able to shred the Vanguard armor and just take them out because of it. Because I believe they had Nautilus 3 as well as the Nico 3 at that point, and that's a very scary fable composition that oftentimes wins lobbies. So yeah, going 7th is like, what the heck happened there? So
And it wasn't contested either, right? The Fable comp wasn't even contested, and no changes. Must have just been a low roll game, right? And sometimes that happens,
it
and
happens.
you wipe your hands and you move on to the next
Yeah.
one, and that's what Bon Apple Tea is going to have to do. Unfortunately for Bon Apple Tea, I believe this is a pretty consistent type of performance for them. I would love to see them break out, right? Get that top 4, get that potential lobby win, because with anyone here, anyone's capable of winning. Like, for
Yeah.
example, I was in a Grandmaster lobby on Monday and I got 3rd.
Here it comes. Who'd you beat,
Right?
Boop?
You know who I beat? I beat Noster, the NA qualifier champion from 1 month ago.
There
And
you
guess what?
go.
I'm not Grandmaster, friends. And I only say it because it was honestly, I like messaged Khroen, and it was like one of the most proud moments of my gaming career. And it's funny, the 3 next lobbies were all technically easier, and I didn't hit over 4 on any of them. I put all of my effort into this first lobby, but 1, selfishly, it was cool to know that I can keep up with these players. And then 2, Noster had a bad day that day. Also had a rough NA qualifier, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of narrative here, seeing Noster come in and get 2nd, right, is huge. Like, that's got to be a little bit of a monkey off your back situation for Noster, because it was a rough week of games for Noster, just in general.
Yeah, I was casting something else. I didn't get a chance to look at all of it to as much as I would have wanted to. Of course, looked at Brawler's performance with the 1 1
My
1
fellow
4
dinosaur,
1.
loving it.
Yeah, that was an insane set of
That might
games. Like,
literally never happen again. Like, just to let everyone know, right? Like, that is something in the TFT world that might be 5-10 years old before it gets touched again. And that's what's so crazy about it to me.
maybe, yeah, because being that dominant, like that's that. Yeah, as you were just alluding to or saying, like that's actually like almost unheard of.
At that level, those were
Yeah, at that level,
literally
the
the
best of the
best
best
players
players. You're able to go
remaining,
1 1
right?
1 4 1.
Yeah.
Like, huh?
And it's hard to do that just like in your, no matter what rank you are, silver, gold, to win 3 times in a row. We have a 3-week curse here, right? We have
Yeah.
a 4th lobby curse here. And that just goes to show how hard it is to be that consistent, especially against the best in the world. As we're going back to Zan Syed, and we have Sir Thomas as our first item carrier. We got the chain vest, so we're probably looking for a sword or a belt to start things off. Sir Thomas going to be a little lonely on the field for now. Let's see who else joins him.
It's gonna be that sharpshooter chosen Nidalee, at least for now. Nidalee, still, she got buffed again, so she's gonna be a solid at least item carrier. I'm not sure if we're gonna see really anyone commit to that Nidalee carry, as we saw with the reroll meta was very prevalent. However, I am liking the start. You might as well go for it. Again, with the chosen changes, you're going to be able to sell that Nidalee and not feel too bad about it, not be too punished, because you're going to be more likely to find a chosen, say, on round 3-2. And that's kind of the part that you really want to be, the kind of the part of the game where you're going to be wanting to sell Nidalee. Because I remember us having multiple before about, like, how far really does Nidalee take you? Because you want to sell her around that, like, middle of stage 3 point, but it's like, oh, will I find anybody else? And sometimes people keep her for too long. Now she'll be joined by some warlords, however, and I think her place in the game is a bit more developed. You're not going to be as punished. You're not going to be as worried about selling her later on into the game.
We lived on the polls with Nidalee, right? I remember when Nidalee was chosen for 3 rounds, and then you sold her. Like, that was literally you had Nidalee chosen for rounds 2-1 until 3-1, and then you switched her out, right? And then all of a sudden, she was the strongest character in the game, champ in the game, right? And now we went a little too far to the left, and I think we're getting inching closer to the middle, because the natural tempo of this game is going to tell you, if you have a 1-cost tier 3 unit by 3-2, you are probably going to be on fire. You are probably going to make the top 5, right? Or 6, right? But with these reroll comps, if the game goes too long, there's going to be a moment where the other comps kind of, as I use a visual here, start inching closer. The top end of these reroll comps is not as high as some of these slower comps. So the idea is that you want to push as much damage as possible and do kind of like what KEWK did, which was win by attrition. And you'll see this with duelist players a lot, where they'll get a 30 HP advantage. They'll have 100 HP. They get 4th because they lose to 11 rounds in a row all of a sudden after Wolves, right? So the game is naturally going to bring comps together, but reroll comps have a faster pace. It's all about that early game, in my opinion, and what items you're holding. And if Oolong wants to continue rolling, I think we have the package around it to do it. Especially with this bow, since Tristana can hold literally anything. It's kind of like a TF in that way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's a really good comparison. I think Tristana is very much a flexible item holder. She can benefit from attack speed, benefit from AD because she's a sharpshooter, but she can also benefit from AP items as well. So super nice, and has that Dragon Soul buff online because of the Chosen, has some solid frontline and a Sunfire here. So Oolong T start here is fairly strong. Going up against Noster though, who also has won the previous round, and we see why right now. I think gonna be a bit too strong for Oolong T to deal with here.
Yeah, these one costs are a lot stronger than they were yesterday,
Yep.
just in general. And they're just, and I think they're in a really great spot now because they're holding on maybe 2 seconds too long, but also I'm seeing them die really quickly, maybe 2 to 3 seconds too short. And that, I think automatically you get a little more sometimes, you get a little less sometimes. And I think that's going to meet in the middle a good amount, as we're going to move some brawlers in here. So why the change? Is it just what other people are running, or better carriers for the Sunfire? What's do you think the reasoning for Oolong is here?
That's interesting. I guess maybe they see it as more consistent. The brawlers have more HP, so they're going to be more consistently staying alive longer. Whereas the divines, I mean, well, they do proc divine. They might still fall a bit earlier. Maybe it's just the direction that they want to go in general, because they do have a bow. Maybe they're going to be looking for a Shyvana maybe to transition into. I'm sure if you're Oolong T, getting 4th place last game, you looked at who was in 3rd right above you, and it was Kook with the brawler composition. Can you read that performance? This is a start that potentially could.
There is something that happens too with these lobbies. I forget, it was Sphinx last week who started with this Tryndamere comp, and then 2 lobbies later, 5 people went for Tryndamere.
Yeah.
Right? So there is something to say that, oh, the lobby sees brawlers, all of a sudden is good with this particular set of players, then hey, that works out. I mean, I remember during the reroll meta, we actually had a lobby, and we noticed there really wasn't that much reroll, but there was, oh man, I'm so sorry I'm blanking on the author, but there are those Giant Slayer kind of recaps now for Fight Night and stuff. And the person who wrote that week asked everyone and was like, there just weren't reroll players in the lobby. And sometimes that happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So last week, we just had a ton of Tryndamere players, and that's why it looked so different than what you might see on the ladder. Something we're not seeing from anyone right now is Fortune, which we've actually seen a spattering of throughout the last couple weeks. But Kook is going to run the Warlord this time around with a couple people all using that Nidalee Chosen, but I would doubt anyone's really going for that Tier 3 Nidalee.
Yeah, gonna be grabbing a bow here. Will it be the RFC commit? It will. And this is going to be some good item utilization that you can have for multiple units, say like an Olaf, a Tryndamere. You can run a Sivir, I think, really comes to mind with those 2 items as well. See what Kook is going to commit to. Right now, it's going to be a few keepers on the board there, a couple of cannons. We can sell the Vi if we win to make Econ, which I'm sure Kook will do at this point in the game. Go up against Infernix, who also has Brawlers, but also a Darius as well, with a Hodge and a Warmog's committal. 40 or 30 gold there, though, on the bench. Infernix kind of rich, and still 100 HP somehow. Not right now, though, not anymore.
Man, you know how much I want Space Jam to work, dude? Like, I think Gunmay posted something today on Twitter that's like, do you want to know why I'm not playing Space Jam? And it was just a video of him getting, spanked with it. It's just, Darius is so vulnerable to literally the smallest form of CC. Doesn't matter what it is, right? If he gets CC'd at all, the rhythm that you're going to get is going to be done unless he starts ulting at the right time. You got to have a Tier 3, you got to have good items, and you still might not win. So it's just very risky for the opportunity for like a couple rounds of hype plays. And so that's what you got to, do your pro and con for. Darius can win some rounds, right? But winning rounds is very different than winning lobbies.
Definitely. So, gonna be having the Brawlers on the bench now from Kook. The Vi pair is there. The Shyvana also there. So we could see a bit of a mid-game pivot. K kstan over the other side is working with the Morello Tristana, and yeah, this works out very well because Morello applies to multiple targets with the with the way that spell works. So again, going to for the point that Tristana can use just so many items. It's so nice as an early game carry.
Yeah, it's no longer like Fiora and TF, right, are going to be holding those items anymore, right? Because Fiora is actually moving into the tank area with the items that she's holding, at least from what I'm seeing. And TF is in those cultist comps, and then you'll see the Tristanas hold items for Sivers and Kales and Olafs, for example. There are a lot more options in the early game to have those item holders, which give you opportunities to see power spikes in Tristana that you might normally not see because no one's really running sharpshooters. So
Yeah.
you can put any AP item on Tristana as well if you're curious. Yes, Morello's does work. Jeweled Gauntlet and Hextech Gunblade also both work. Hextech Gunblade in the early game for her is actually very good. That little the baby shield is really good when there's only 4 or 5 units on the field. But we have Feast Gloves, we have IE, we have Hodge. This is we have I think a Last Whisper as well. So we have best in slot items for Sivir if we want them.
Or a static Shiv, Boop. Shiv got buffed. It's time. It's the Shiv meta. No, it's not the Shiv meta. Maybe one day, but not today.
You know, Shredder might come back. You never know. With Shredder was or the Pikachu comp, as people colloquially called it, was Zaya with 2 static Shivs and a Rage Blade.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And only because the ult back then was an auto attack enhancement, it's not really going to work.
Yeah.
Tristana is probably the one, and Sivir that probably will get the most value out of those. Also, talking about this patch, Akali was specifically pointed out as getting a big nerf. We have not seen any Akalis. We've seen 2 chosen Akalis get passed up. Is it just the unit not being flexible enough? Because that's where kind of my brain goes to. It's just the rest of the assassins aren't good, good enough right now. That Spirit Assassin comp hasn't really been a thing since 2 patches ago.
Akali got buffed, right? I believe.
Yeah, huge buff.
Oh yeah. Okay. I thought you said nerf. Maybe I'm insane. But yeah, she got buffed. I may have, yeah. She did get buffed, like 50 damage, I believe, at the tier 3. But yeah, maybe there was some room there. I haven't really seen too many people experiment with the ninja composition. I think we've like passively seen some maybe over the course of the past few weeks with the Akali focused carry, but they generally don't do super well. It's risky to run that ninja Akali composition because it counts on so much going well. It's hard to get online. It's hard to transition into because you need specific items for it that don't really work on anybody else. Like, sure, you can have, you want the RFC like blue buff IE, but blue buff isn't really good on like almost anybody else right now for item carrier. Maybe you can somehow find a way to transition from like a Vigar, but then you still have the IE. It's just super awkward, right, to put it online. So you need a lot of things to go well for you at first. And speaking of a lot of things going well for you, that is not what's happening to ACommonQuail right now, as they are on a 7 loss streak, 50 HP on 3-3. Sure, now they find a Sivir 2, but we got to start committing some items if we want to actually, I think, have a chance to stabilize in this game. And we're going to now with the sharpshooter chosen Teemo. This is a good mid game. I would like to see, I think, something else committed here, whether it be a Hodge or an IE, and it is going to be the IE here from ACommonQuail.
So Sivir did not get nerfed on this particular level. It was the Sivir 3, was incredibly dominant. Still can be dominant, as we actually are going to get an RFC Rabadon's Akali with Bone Apple Tea, and we're actually seeing exactly why it's so tough. It's just Akali hits anyone with any amount of HP, not any amount, like off tank to like tanky amount of HP, like from a Jax to a Supreme Overlord Galio, she's gonna struggle, right? Especially when you don't have item enhancers or auto attack enhancers for yourself. And an RFC and a Rabadon's is going to be doing flat damage. So that's going to be tough for a lot of these tankier units. So you put that Akali against Brawlers, she's going to get eaten by that Nunu. It's not even like the carry, right? Like the Nunu is going to take care of her, no problem.
Yeah, there's 4 bows in this carousel here. If you want a bow, here's the place to be right now. We have 1 being grabbed already, 2 in fact. Still 2 more left, as Noster and kstan are the final 2 to pick here. kstan, the only person on a win streak right now, or on fire win streak at least.
Noster only losing 1 round, probably, to kstan early on. Kook once again in the top 3 at 80, but the bottom three here hemorrhaging HP, and ACommonQuail is doing something that my buds and I like to call fortune jail without fortune. We did win that last time, but 50 HP at 3.5 is on the low side for sure.
Yeah.
So
we've seen lower, but it's still not really a great place to be here. I think we unfortunately had just a bit of a rough early game. We didn't stabilize, right when we wanted to. Although looking at this side here, like this comp doesn't even look super strong here from Noster. And it did lose last round, I think, because it is kind of slowing down. It is losing steam here. But even still, Noster's level 7 with 40 gold. This is an amazing place to be in. And it's okay that you're not going to be that weak. This Nidalee carry is still here. It hasn't been sold off. It's going to be getting you all the way through stage 3. We already committed to GA as well and almost winning the round. We are going on a bit of a loss streak here, but again, that's okay. You have all that HP to work with right now. We're still going to be in, I believe, second place here as long as kstan wins it out. But no, kstan loses, and we're still in first.
In terms of valuable statistics, right? If you're over 50 HP, your HP isn't as valuable as some gold potentially, right? You're going to be sacrificing that HP to develop that gold in order to get there. And when you're this far ahead, already at level 7, in a meta where getting to 9 requires this kind of situation, right? It's a lot harder to get there. And so Noster could legitimately think about getting to 9, getting a 5 cost chosen, and start, winning this lobby. We're not quite there yet, but we've done everything we need to be. So when we hit 4-5-5-1, at the lowest, we'll be at like 40 HP and still be in a position potentially to win the lobby.
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot of gold saved up to that point, assuredly. So potential to win the lobby is kind of in that econ investment there. kstan is going to be, I assume, losing out this round, seeing as the GA still there on the Nidalee and the spear comes through. Noster not going on a loss streak before the Wolves. Oh well. Lose a little bit of gold, but like that's fine. Tryndamere option is here and available, however, once these items come through. And the items that Noster gets from this Wolf round will determine the direction, because he's super, super flexible right now and where he could go.
Because he didn't commit to items,
Yep.
right? Like that is... I'm a player, I love slamming items early. I like win streaking early. That's just the type of player I am, right? Noster identifying that, okay, GA can go on anybody. Let's go ahead and put this bow on Nidalee because that can turn into anything, right?
Yeah.
It can be a Rage Blade. It can be a Last Whisper now. It could even be a Giant Slayer because the lobbies are getting moderately tanky with these Vanguards in the front line, the Nico 3s. So we have... That was a very good Wolf round, by the way, for Noster. And so now we have to either go the Dual Gauntlet direction, or we're going to go the Hextech Gunblade direction. That could potentially go the Asol way as we move over to Syed now, who has all of the items on the bench outside of the RFC Jeweled Gauntlet.
Yeah, Zan here, okay, has RFC on the Kindred right now, hasn't found no one to replace, so can't really move it over yet. So we're gonna get Zeke's here. That's solid. What else are we gonna make though? Is it like a Titan's Resolve, a Bramble for the front line? Excuse me. It could be a Shroud Titans as well, actually. But we're gonna get more components in the future, so might want to greed them out. You only have so much time to greed, however, but a little bit more as we do win this round, albeit barely, off the back of the Kale and Kindred there. But some more transitional decision making has to happen here. I think some more rolling is going to be done because we need a bit more here to really get online.
If you don't have something online by the end of 4-1, keep rolling until you do, in my opinion. Until you have something that you think is going to at least 50-50 some people, which potentially could be this. We would love a 4 cost chosen. Now the question is, how much do we roll? And now that we've chosen this keeper chosen, it's going to...
Didn't get to put the Kindred.
We didn't get it in. Yeah, we didn't get it in. So it's just going to be a random Wukong, I believe. That's a...
Yeah. I mean, the Wukong is a Vanguard and is a Divine, I guess.
Could have been worse. Could have been worse, I suppose.
Yeah, could have definitely been better, though. A lot better. As we see ACommonQuail kind of destroy this composition with still their sharpshooters in here with that Sivir, of course, having that Last Whisper and IE shreds those Vanguards like they are paper. Zan Syed on Kale 1. You're in like it's always such an awkward position when you're like at that 4-1 to 4-3 mark. You're losing a lot of HP, so you have to roll it down. You want to be able to find a chosen that you can stick with, but Cannon's not going to be that. You have no items on your front line, so I think at least a Shroud or a Bramble, one of the two, has to be committed to right now if you're going to start to stay or going to try to stabilize. Zeke's is now finally placed here, and Boop, you bring it up a lot, and I'm going to first right now. The intention that we see or want to see here from Zan Syed just isn't quite there. The mouse movement is a bit slow, a bit unsure. And I think that really goes to tell a story right now about what's going on.
It really does. I think the Tristana is actually. Oh no, the attack
had to walk
range.
forward.
Oh no.
RFC div. That's why RFC is
Oh
the kill.
man, she can hop, right? Just press W.
I know, right?
Could you? That would be a sick 5-cost unit. Now that I'm thinking about it,
Tristana to like W like Buster shot them, but like oh
yeah,
man.
that'd be sick. More? Are you listening? Anyway,
Yeah.
Ooh, I just got like really excited for like other units potentially coming into the game. I think Viego could be super cool.
Oh man.
As like an ultimate, as like a one of those special 5-cost units, right, or something like that. I still think that would be cool if like when you 3-star a unit, their ultimate changes. If that ever happens, I think that would be sick. Like maybe you like Ari starts off with just her regular Q back and forth, and when she gets tier 3, she has Spirit Bomb again. I don't know. Could be cool.
Oh man, you got my brain working now, Boop. We'll have to discuss that more maybe a bit later because there's so much that I want to like think about in that regard. But right now, I want to think about how Zan Syed does come back from this position. It is now 4 Divine, which gives a bit more time there. We get a very, very lucky Thieves Gloves roll there with the blue buff Lee Sin. That's huge. Probably going to delete a unit because of that. But the front line here is only really an Aurelia 2. We still saving up a bit of gold, but like how much can we greed? How much HP are we going to lose if we do lose a round? Noster is in mid-transitional point here, but does get all the items on the board. Noster really, really good at that transition. And the Tryndamere, can they find their way to the kill? No.
Doesn't quite get the Chalice on. Ooh, interesting that it doesn't finish the spin. When the GA procs. Take note of that, friends, when you're playing that Tryndamere, because Tryndamere is arguably top 5 ways to get to the Kale, just based on that ult. So that was just a situation of timing. This Kale comp without a Kale 2 will not succeed after 5-2. It just won't. As 5 costs
probably not.
Tier 2'd, unless the rest of the lobby is weaker, which when a lobby numbers are moderately even like this, you can kind of assume that the lobby is either even in power or on the lower side of power, which I would actually agree with. There's no one currently running away with this, in my opinion. No one with a Mystic, Fabled 3, basically just a bunch of people with Kale items without Kale on their board, outside of Zan here, who does have that Kale. And this is the type of comp that Kale does so well against, which is other Kale comps a lot of the time, because there is no one whose job it is to get into the back line.
Fortunately for Zan Syed there, this is like one of the only matchups that they actually win against, and it's like a dominant win at that. Another blue buff with the Lee Sin roll there, but it can be a neutral round, so wasted value, but some good positioning that happened. The level 7 opponent, Apple T, it did have 50 gold, so they were kind of saving up themselves. Zan Syed did aggressively level to 8 there, which they didn't need to do in hindsight, but might as well be safe as opposed to being sorry in that regard. They're going to have maybe about 30, probably a bit more like 35-ish gold to roll with, depending on how much gold they get just from the Raptor round. We are taking a look back at ACommonQuail, though, who is on an 8-win streak, and for a reason, right? That Sivir with the Last Whisper IE, gonna be so strong in the mid game, but now is the time to pivot, or maybe not, because a sharpshooter chosen, already another Sivir on the bench, just needs one more Sivir, and that Nico is there to make that a 3-star.
Roll it down! I want to see it. Roll it down. You're only 1 Sivir away.
Yeah.
Is he gonna hit? This is like the most thrilling part of watching TFT, to be completely honest. I mean, maybe other than like the 1v1s at the end, but this is where skill expression comes into play. This is where intent comes into play, right? Because we've got items, we've got units on the board. That is analysis paralysis, right? What you just saw. So many options resulting in none of them actually coming to fruition. So that is very, very unfortunate. I mean, a Sivir 3 might win this for ACommonQuail, but we're going to have to wait a little while longer. Maybe being a little bit conservative is fine. We did talk about HP being more of a resource, over 50 HP, but we're below 50 HP now, so we got to be a little bit more careful.
Yeah, we got to see these rolls coming through. If not last turn, it has to be this turn. Has to be 5-2 to find what we need here. We're finding Adepts as well. Shen 2 coming through now. It's probably going to be put onto the board. Honestly, probably over the Ornn there. It's a bit late to be starting to farm artifacts, especially when you are 39 HP towards the bottom of the lobby here. Another Ornn coming through. I guess if we get Ornn 2, it's like fine. But really, we really want that Sivir right now. Not going to find it though.
So far, it's probably been about 80 gold to find one Sivir. And that's okay in this situation, because that is how you win this lobby. That is, we talk about win conditions a lot in other games, but the win condition here for ACommonQuail specifically is that Sivir 3, and he's identified it. I mean, we rolled almost, we Tina Turnered our way all the way to 14 gold, right? And we didn't get it. And no one really is running this Sivir either. So very, very interesting is Noster with that perfect item Tryndamere. Love the star animation on the GA. But yeah, Deathblade, it does. It's a lot easier to read too. And the Deathblade, even though nerfed, still, no matter how much damage they take away at the beginning, it's still stacking, and it's still going to be valuable, especially for people like Tryndamere.
Definitely. That fight almost was won there for ACommonQuail, even though Sivir literally couldn't play the game after the Aatrox pull. They got Aatrox pulled in, then Pike stunned, and then towards the end of the Pike stun, they got taken out. So Sivir didn't really do that much, but still the rest of the composition there, the Yone, gonna be super, super good. Wants to find the Yone too. There's so much that you need to find right now if you're ACommonQuail, but you're unfortunately not finding any of it, so you're forced to sell the Shen and roll it down and still don't find anything. It's like you see the shrug there. Like, what am I supposed to do right now if you're ACommonQuail? It's like just the frustration. You're not hitting any of your pairs right now. Even the Sejuani, which obviously is hard to find in this meta. But man, now going up against One Apple T, who has the Kale chosen, you're just hemorrhaging HP right at this point.
Exactly. 21 HP now, and I think ACommonQuail knows exactly. If they had 3 Nikos, this would be perfect.
Only 3 Nikos, yeah.
Only 3 Nikos. Ooh.
A tall order.
There might be an argument to grab this Yone off carousel just for the unit. You usually don't see that, and that's unfortunate.
They wanted it. Because now they're like, oh, what do I get next?
Anytime you see someone just hanging out in the middle like that, that's the reason. This is where you can start really getting into your head. You get spooled up, right? You start thinking about all the things that went wrong the last couple of rounds when you still have an opportunity to do well. I mean, all you have to hit. This is a situation, we joke about it all the time, but ACommonQuail just needs to hit right now, right? He needs to,
Honestly,
if you're coming from other games, like, he needs to get that top deck, right?
Yeah.
Like, it needs to happen, and it needs to happen within the next 2 rounds.
Let's see, still got a few more rolls coming through here, but man, every roll is just so tragic. I feel like statistically, you probably would have found one of the things that you needed right now. Even goes to sell the Ornn, because I think that's actually really smart to do right now, because the Ornn's going to give you that one artifact regardless next turn.
This is
selling
nuts.
More. Oh yeah, like look at ACommonQuail right now. It's just like you must be feeling frustrated.
Yeah,
I would be too, 100%.
This is probably one of the unluckiest roll downs we've seen on Fight Night, to be completely honest with you. There's one roll down that Emily did like 3.5 months ago that will forever live in infamy for me. That was maybe a little worse, as I don't believe she rolled a chosen. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. I mean, you referenced
40 gold, right? Like, she didn't roll a chosen.
We've found her.
We found it. Okay, so now the question, Khroen, because we have an extra spot. Okay, so we are going to tier 3 that Sivir and not tier 2 the Yone. The Yone has some odd items, so I do agree with that decision.
Yeah, waiting this long to get the Sivir and then not upgrading the Sivir would be a little question mark. But no, we're going to upgrade it right now. See if they're able to survive the round. Moving on over to Noster's board here. That Tryndamere is very scary, but so is the Kale and the Yone from Zan Syed.
Yeah, I think the lobby benefiting from the fact that this is, I mean, all 8 players still remaining potentially at 6-1. No, jinxed it. As Bon FLT is going to get eliminated. Yeah, and that is going to be it. But having 7 players at the Nexus minion really goes to show how even the lobby is, especially since Syed is at 18 health. This Elderwood spat, though.
Yeah, don't you love when you get a useless spat off of
I literally talked about this last lobby, remember?
Yep.
This is one of the few times I think you can get mad at the Mort God. One of the 2 times, because it's just like part of the engine, right? But I also love the fact that you have to make something happen about it, right? You can't wallow in it. You can complain for a second, but you know, there is actually a way that we can get 3 Elderwoods in here. There are a couple units that benefit from this Elderwood buff. It's just we're gonna have to make some adjustments to get it there, and it doesn't look like we're gonna do that. At least we have some stats with it, and a death stance is gonna be really nice from that Ornn, which should probably just come out at this point.
Yeah. The Ornn definitely, after giving the artifact, doesn't really give any buffs. Yeah, it's going to get sold immediately. The set 2 right now. And ooh, Gold Collector on a set. That's very, very, very nice. We have a couple of Rage Blade potential. Do you ever just put the Rage Blades on a set? Over an Olaf 1? Like, ooh. Yeah, I think so. And Noster's going to do it. I agree with that for sure.
Everyone remember that set is not just about the body slam. It's not just about the pile drive.
Okay, well, it's over.
This time it was, and it was over. But if we had a little bit more HP, we may have seen Set do some true damage with that rage items. But we're not going to see it this time around as Infernix and Noster going to fall. We're going to go back to Kook, who once again might get a top 4 through that War of Attrition, has that Duelist Sivir with that Ruinous Hurricane and almost best in slot items on that Samira.
Yeah, this is a beautiful composition here. We see a bit of scouting come out against Oolong. Oolong is in such a really good spot there. But ACommonQuail finally does get the Sivir 3 online and gets a couple of wins from that, at least 5th here. Could even top 4, even though that roll down was so doomed. Going up against OolongT, though, this is a rough matchup. How much can the Samira do here?
Ooh, those items on that Olaf are very, very scary. No Last Whisper, though, so it's just going to be that flat damage from that IE. And the Olaf was actually CC'd for a long time before that ult. That was as close to perfect as you could ask for.
Yeah, Kale RFC. Oh, the Set there still in the corner. Didn't see that first, but Set actually going to go down as well. kstan not falling. Literal 1 HP and a dream.
What a lobby. Close from beginning to end. We rarely get these kinds of lobbies where it's close the whole time. We'll have like someone at 100 and then it'll get close where everyone's within 15. But this one was anyone's game the whole time, seeing a lot of Olaf, seeing some duelist spats, definitely still seeing those Sivers and Samiras. But coming into the late game, it really feels like these Slayers are the way to go right now, together with some duelists and some other tankier units like the Lee Sin to help out. The Set can also do it, or you can go the Dragon Soul direction, which is what kstan is doing. But this is, I think, one of those top 4 comps, especially if you don't position away from that Aatrox.
Oh, the Swain with the Zonias there. Oh man, still not gonna be enough though. This Samira is hard carrying Kook right now. kstan gets eliminated, and ACommonQuail, all you needed was the Sivir 3, and now you're dominating on a win streak. Only player on fire right now, and all of a sudden, even with how frustrating it was earlier, ACommonQuail could literally win this lobby in just a couple of rounds.
I mean, a Sivir 3, I mean, it was all that they were looking for that whole time, and it has already paid off in spades. I mean, we're shopping at we're shopping at some high-end stores right now with that.
Oh yeah.
You know, like we were very happy. The performance review came in and it was perfect. And so that Sivir 3 doing exactly what they need to do. Shen Chu is actually going to help. Any sort of tank in the front line to help Sivir get going is going to matter. Because remember, just like Kale, Sivir will benefit from longer fights, right? The more times they ult, the more times they get those attacks off and boomerangs off, the better.
Lee Sin gonna be positioned to try to get a good kick happening here. Maybe the Tryndamere, maybe the Swain. Looks like they're gonna just okay, a lot of last second swaps there. Who's the Lee Sin gonna land on? It's gonna be next to the Shen right now.
And that's actually bad news because the Shen can just move out of the corner if they get to that ult in time.
No.
The Samira is
Oh,
going to dive into her doom. I appreciate the Moxie as Kook is going to fall again in third place by
yeah.
about 6 HP. That's 1 unit at this point in time. If ACommonQuail wins, this would be a literal 8th to 1st situation at 6
Yep.
HP, all on the back of Sivir 3, recently nerfed Sivir 3, by the way.
50 less attack damage, but still, it seems to not matter here. And against compositions that are so strong, it may struggle here. However, we'll have to see, because Yone is still tier 1. But look at that Swain right there, being that 5-cost carry from Oolong.
The Aatrox is going to pull 2 Sand Soldiers, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. Both Aatrox is actually going at the exact same time. The Samira, though, jumping back in good while, and we are going to get the elimination. 2 lobby wins in a row for ACommonQuail. As surprises, I think a lot of you all at home, that was a turn around. Sivir 3 was all they needed. Well,
It
and a lot
was
of other skill and a lot of other stuff throughout the entire game. But in the end, the cherry on top was the Sivir 3.
Definitely. That was quite the comeback there. It could have been an 8th, like very, very easily there for ACommonQuail if that Sivir did not come through. Now, with how much gold they rolled, they were bound to have hit something by that point. So fortunately, it came literally just in time when there was 1 life left, and they rolled with it to the victory. And great positioning, I think, there as well to make sure that they're winning every single round. They're not really getting caught off guard by anything. But man, 2 first places in a row off the back of that performance, yeah, they're well above everybody else right now. 20 points on Boop record-setting pace right now. If we have some similar games down the line, but Kook as well with a couple of thirds, great job, 14 points. Oolong as well with a 4th and 3rd, 14 points, and 10 and below. But Apple T really unfortunately struggling with the double 8ths back to back.
I am incredibly impressed with ACommonQuail. We'll talk more about that after the half, but first things first, 2 lobby wins, I believe, on the first fight night. If you go to the Twitter post, you'll see that it's a new profile and everything, right? So this is what fight night is for. And coming in here, getting 2 wins, I mean, that's how you make a name for yourself. And that's how you're remembered. And ACommonQuail is doing exactly what they need to do to be that person.
Exactly. The ball is in their court right now. Let's see if they can drive it home to the finish. But we'll be right back. First of all, stick with us, and we'll return here shortly for more Fight Night Rising. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fight Night Rising. 2 games down and 2 more to go, and we've seen a very dominant performance from one of our players, ACommonQuail. Boop, I think you had some more thoughts. Maybe it wasn't on them, but just some thoughts you wanted to return to after break. So what's going on for you? What are your thoughts so far?
Okay, so I just wanted to talk about we talked a little bit about it off camera. The fact that I believe ACommonQuail rolled about 175 gold and hit nothing for like 3 rounds, right? Like it wasn't this win was not guaranteed
Oh, no.
whatsoever. And this win included positioning. This win included itemization. This win included, the long game and the short game. It was kind of a really nice all-encompassing way to say this person is the real deal. Plus, I think you do just need to hit sometimes, right? And we
Yeah,
were able to get that with ACommonQuail as well, and that's why we're on a perfect streak so far with ACommonQuail
perfect.
winning the last 2 lobbies.
Yeah, perfect streak, winning last 2 on record-setting pace, but Boop, as you have dubbed it, we're not quite there yet, but the 4th lobby curse, we gotta be thinking about for later on. Are they gonna be able to be consistent? We know players like we mentioned, Bert, going 1-1-1, 4-1, I suppose, but in a lobby such as that, can ACommonQuail do a similar performance in a lobby such as this? Because that would
Mhm.
be extremely impressive, I would say.
I I believe the lobby is a little bit friendly towards that particular play style right now. It seems like we have a lobby of moderately slow rolling players, right? Like
Yeah,
I think a lot of the players would be okay with the game getting to 7-1, 7-2, right? A lot of them might prefer it. No one like, Pokygam is gonna roll a lot. Right. And potentially play reroll comp. Still not really seeing that, but we have seen I think one of the biggest gameplay things that we've seen is a little bit understated, which is you would get a one cost chosen and you would just skip it. From yesterday. Now, almost everyone has picked up their one cost chosen, especially the Nidalees. So they're back, I would say, especially like Nidalee, old school Nidalee, which was like your 2-1 to 3-2 chosen, I think is really appropriate right now. The 2
yeah.
rolling places have definitely been 3-2 and 4-1, and then 5-1 for our winning lobbies. But yeah, things are starting to settle down in the meta, and it's still moderately flexible. It does seem that the units in Dragon Soul, in particular, the Swain, the Olaf, and then to go with the Slayers, the Tryndamere, seem to be the strongest trio, lobby winning trio right now, with Kale getting nothing higher than 3rd still.
Yeah, I mean, still able to make it up there, though, and there is potential for higher, but definitely once we get to our super, super late game, if things, even though they're nerfed, like Sever 3 or like Samira 2 can get online with a good rest of the pairings there, it's going to be super nice. I don't think we've really seen a Kale comp reach its highest effectiveness because I think Kale also does benefit from the extremely specific scenario of being or having at least a chosen executioner along with that composition to get 4 executioner online, and then also to itemize the Zaya as well, so that she's actually a threat, as well as having the Sejuani and Aatrox the front line to make sure that she's just alive long enough, right? And
Yeah.
that no threats really get to her. Although, talking about Tryndamere is one of the top 5 in your words to get to the Kale and actually take her out, and I do agree. But yeah, again, just a lot of specific things have to happen. It is still possible. There is potential there, but we haven't seen it to its fullest effectiveness so far.
Okay, I don't feel like we've seen Noster at his full effectiveness in a couple of weeks. At this point in time, a little bit of a slump, in my opinion. That's why I'm actually really happy that Noster is here. I hate reiterating this, but I think it's good for just the history and context. Is Noster had a rough week of games over the last week at the
Yeah.
qualifier and at the last chance qualifier that was on Monday, and I believe he bottomed 4 2 times in a row there and I don't think maybe didn't make it past that first day. So this is a really great time to be like, okay, going back to the gym, gonna like do the things that I know and I love, right? I know I'm good at this. Let's start rebuilding again. And then Noster has done that so far. So I'm really happy with how that's gone, as we have a Runins, a Rage Blade, an Ionic Spark, if you were to choose. But this Rage Blade should, I mean, you see a Rage Blade, you should think of Kale, right? You should also be thinking of maybe a Callista to get there, or a Tristana. But if you're not thinking about Kale with a Rage Blade, you're not playing this version of TFT.
Yeah, you're playing TFT of sets past, really, if
Yeah.
you're thinking about that for other units there. You got 6 gold coming here for Noster in the form of, I believe it was a Teemo, a Janna, and now a Nautilus. Couple potential vanguards to put in here. A Fortune Chosen Tom Kench. This must be tempting. There is no third Fortune right now to put in, but if you're able to go on, cash out, get a good cash out, or just go on a Fortune win streak, you're going to be in a pretty good spot. Noster is coming off of, as you said, a rough week, but today they started off the game with a second place. Start off the games, and then they had a 7th, I believe it was last game, but still, the potential to do well has been there, and I think it is still there for this game and beyond. No items being slammed right now. If I were to slam anything here, just wanting to, be the flexible, or wanting to be flexible player that I am, I would do Runins. Runins is a bit more dynamic than the Rage Blade, but either one could still work here. Definitely not Ionic here. Ionic definitely not gonna be as value as it was in sets past.
There's no Riven to deliver a lot of the Ionic Spark damage.
Vlad 2.
Okay, so we are going to get Vlad 2. I wonder if we're going to keep this Fortune Thomas on the board. We could potentially roll and pick up a Annie or a Katarina or a Darius if we're lucky. But what... Okay, so if you guys are playing this game, right, and you're Noster, and you had 3 1-cost units on the field, and a Fortune Tom Kench comes up, you're going to lose that round. Right? Like, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So pick up the Fortune, because you're not gonna get another chosen. You're not rolling, right? So you pick up the Fortune and you hope within the next 2 rolls you're gonna be fine. But at this point with the Vlad 2, you're no longer like, I'm gonna lose this round. I'll see you first pick on Carousel, because Vladimir is actually one of the best support units in the early game that you can ask for.
Yeah, look at the HP that's providing to us with his team. I think Tom Kench's going to live long enough for, some more healing to come through here. Keeps getting stunned by that pesky Fiora, however. Fiora 1 doing work, but does take out a couple of units, and that's fine, right? You're not getting your Fortune streak right now, of course, because you don't have Fortune in, but you still are going to be losing these rounds to, only a couple of units. We're at 90 HP, tied with a couple other players, and still have the potential to win out, I suppose, now that 3 cultists is achieved, at least 2, with the TF is now in there. Moving on over to the perspective of Kook, however, we'll see what they have on their board here in a second. They're doing a good job at scouting. I like that.
What's that? I
want to see the board.
What is scouting? I literally do it 2 times a game. It doesn't matter where it is, it'll just be twice throughout an entire game. Notorious non-scouter here. That's why I like playing Blade Masters back in the day. But this team, Teemo is, particularly against this team, going to be pretty enemy.
Oh, yes. Teemo solo carried this, in fact.
100%. Even though it had 813 damage, it was the blind that kept that Tom Kench alive for as long as it did and allowed that Maokai to do the work that it did. I'm still kind of curious to see if we got to the Fortune. Noster did win that last round. Infernix having a little bit of a hard time, but Kook doing Kook things, going cuckoo for top 4 to start things off, because the attrition game is where Kook seems to really love being, which is... Let's build a lead. We might not win the lobby, but hopefully we've developed enough of an HP lead. We've secured top 4, which will get us back next week.
Yeah, that's all you really got to do. Got to be consistent there. That's the playstyle that I personally know and love, is not the first Wraith, but the consistent top 4. Is we've seen Kook do that last week. We've seen them do it here so far. And yeah, really, really strong. I didn't actually get to see what Noster picked on the carousel there. I was actually going to bring up the point of that. Sometimes in the past, people would, take like a Fortune Jinx off of a carousel here, just because it gives the Fortune buff. But there was, I believe, a Katarina on the carousel, so could have taken that to get Fortune online. Have to check that out in a bit though. But right now for Kook, 4 brawlers. The item potential for a Shyvana carry is there. Runans is here, half of a Hodge, half of a Rage Blade. I wouldn't be surprised to see it if we hit a Shyvana.
Yeah, a lot of people I think would be baited into putting the Runin's Jeweled Gauntlet on the Kindred because that is a very good item. Jewel Gauntlet particularly on the Kindred, it's going to one-hit most people, even at tier 1. I mean, with no items, this Kindred is going to be helping, a lot of these units end up perishing. This Darius will be the next victim. I mean, this Kindred might actually bring this down to 2 units. Okay, but no, but with the Jewel Gauntlet, probably, actually, right? But the patience, I think, is going to pay off. It's not about what you have right now, unless you're that type of player, right? Unless you're going to be okay with locking yourself into a Jeweled Gauntlet, which will lock you into a potential mage comp or set comp a little while later. So it's totally up to your preferences, but I think either would work. I do think taking out the Kindred is interesting because no spirit buff.
It guarantees you econ, I suppose, which is really what Kook wanted to do. If you lose the round, you don't really want to have to sell a Tristana. Or both your... Or actually, no, you couldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to make gold in that scenario. So just making sure to guarantee the eco there, I think, is nice, because you can still go on a loss streak. Even if the Kindred technically makes you stronger, you might still just want to generate more gold over the course of the next couple of rounds.
And that's the name of the game, is gold generation. A lot of the time when it comes to this high-level play is you can't make moves if you don't have the money to make them. And so you're going to use that HP to get there, and you're going to loss streak potentially to get there too. And Kook is going to be in a position that we're not seeing them in, which is not, on fire at 90-something HP, because you just don't have that initial opening as the brawlers that Kook has been favoring is actually being slightly contested, not completely as a comp, but the spatterings of other people getting those brawlers as well.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I want to bring up another point off of the back of you mentioning like the econ and stuff. And Kook, because that econ has 28 here, if they get 2 gold there, they can get 30, and that can definitely that could be a lot of difference there. Like you can make 1 or 2 gold into say like 5 or 6 down the line, and players in Fight Night might, maybe like some of them will be able to be on top of that, but not all of them are going to like always be recognizing those slight minute plays to make to get you that much of an advantage. It's even like something that top players don't always do to their fullest extent, but obviously the tippity top will be as much as possible. Zan Syed doing a good job here as well of making econ. They sold up to 30 there, have the potential to sell to 40 right now if they do get rid of the brawlers, which would be on the bench at least, which would be fine. But probably keeping the Teemo pair for now. Some flexible items here. GA already made, but as we know, that can go on to multiple units. But actually, just going to be a full brawler commit, it looks like, with the Fortune as well.
And that's not good news for Kook, because this is the 3rd person doing this in the round where it's been uncontested. So if Kook is kind of like playing this version of the lobby the same as the last 2, Kook is going to have a very hard time throughout the rest of the day. So we are going to go ahead and itemize the Hodge. And
I like this.
I do too. I like putting components on units at this particular time in the game, because you can always pivot too, right? So it's not doing a magic trick, Katarina, but not going to take anyone out. But yeah, going back to those half item components, it's good stats and is the difference. A lot of times in the early game, 1 or 2 auto attacks might actually be the difference between winning and losing, or getting 1 or 2 more units. And putting a component on is a great way to get that Shyvana to transform 1 auto attack earlier.
Yeah, definitely. And even transforming earlier and then getting subsequent damage off of that. Now Zan Syed going to be leveling up to that level 6. Putting an extra unit in doesn't really achieve too much, but some just some HP. If you win this round, which you very well might, I think this board by no means is bad, then you can sell the Tom Kench, make 40 gold here, and kind of be chilling. And I think you might win in this matchup here. It is a pretty tanky Nautilus, however, from Bon Apple T, but we are level ahead, and the Shyvana is going to do a lot of work here.
Speaking of Nautilus, like no fabled comps today. The one fabled comp we saw got 7th.
Yeah,
still surprising. That is a lobby winning comp still, as this Shyvana is going to be going against probably the second tankiest unit in the game, arguably the tankiest at tier 3. The Sunfire is going to be able to take down this Shyvana by the end of the day. There it is. Nautilus is so good, especially in early tier 2. But we saw tier 3 Nautilus with Rage Blade and like Dragon Claw and something like 1v4 people at the end of the game last time around. So you can push into a carry Nautilus in the front line if you have the items. And I think if the game kind of gives you a bunch of defensive items, that could be a good option for you.
It definitely can be, and it definitely gets some wins off the back of that. Again, we saw last week a Fabled Nautilus basically never die, and this slammed some offensive items even on it as well, and it did very, very well. ACommonQuail here, Ken and 2 with Morillos, with a keeper chosen Rakan. This is such a good start here. 4 keeper buff being achieved, and this Morello debuff is going to shred the rest of the brawlers here. Katarina, yeah, she's like, her animation, she just like stays still but spins around. So
that's what like I would do if I ulted, right? Like
just stand there.
Just be like, oh, okay.
Do I have to? Do I have to do all that work,
like,
all that movement?
Like, you know, I open the fridge and I'm like, oh, I have to go shopping. Or like, you know, you open up and you're like, oh, I'm out of toilet paper. Right, like I gotta go over there, but we do have a little bit of an update as Noster did get that fortune buff and payout, and it's going to be off the back of that Callista with almost perfect Olaf items. I wonder where that's going to go, because it could end up being a last whisper to go on Tryndamere as well.
Definitely, I think the Olaf was picked up here, so it'll probably just be it doesn't have to be a sell. It depends if Slayer buff is achieved, but it could in the future. Oh yeah, this fortune payout though. Let's get into that first. And Lucky Lantern, it's a bunch of gold, 1 component, and an Aatrox. Loaded dice and item remover here. That's a lot of rods though. That's like an unfortunate amount of rods, almost I think here. But we're going to be taking out Fortune right now, obviously. Yeah, the Olaf's going to go in. It looks like we don't have Slayers in, but we do have Dragon Soul.
So I actually want to speak on this real quick. So a lot of people I've noticed, so I've actually been teaching a lot of people TFT lately. And something that I've noticed, I'm using my education degree, guys.
Good job.
You're welcome, Mom. But no, the thing that I've noticed is a lot of people are anti, like, let me take out my tier 2 units to add tier 1 units for these synergies. And you're actually noticing right now that these tier 1 units are going to win the round for them. So, yeah, going to win the round for them, right? And it's a synergy thing. So a lot of people think, oh, if I'm going to put a unit in, it needs to do something, right? But what it's doing is just supporting, right? Maybe it's supporting through an ability like Vladimir, but it can also support through the class and synergy as well, which this Tristana and this brand is doing too. You're putting the Tristana in the front line just in case that Olaf doesn't get that initial... I don't know actually why you would put it in the front line, since Olaf is going to be the only Dragon Soul that gets hit in the front line.
Yeah, Olaf probably, unless there's an assassin that goes to the back line and there happens to be nobody in front, directly in front of the Olaf there, but I guess it's not too big of a deal here. It is going to be benefiting from the Locket buff, so just more shielding happening. Yeah, but she will die. Let's see when she dies actually here. It's not going to be for a while, but it doesn't matter, it looks like here.
Yep, doesn't matter. The Deathblade is, you know, a Dragon Soul buff just over time, right? Like it is going to end up hitting, you know, that Olaf is going to end up hitting just as hard. Isn't it crazy that that used to give you 20 AD and it gives you 10 and it gives you 10 less to start and it's still good?
Right? Like, what an item. What an item.
And I love items like Deathblade because it is one of those risk, you know, versus reward items. It got less risky there, but now I love the coin flippiness of it. Same thing with Hodge. We got a cloak, which is nice for the Jeweled Gauntlet. If we want to put it on, you know, someone like the Vladimir, if we don't get something that we like from these wolves. But we got to find something to go along with these significantly large rods and needlessly large rods. And we actually get some really, really good opportunities here.
Yeah, especially with these rolls as well, actually. Noster a very fast roller. Let's see what they end up with here. Watching a lot of people's rolls, it's kind of almost hardest to keep up with Noster. Do pause on that Slayer chosen Zed, however, but decides to go past it. There was the Nico potential, but I think passing that up is fine. We could use item remover here and not have to sell our Olaf if we want to maintain Slayers, but the Kale was sold. We're going to have Hodge instead of Last Whisper. Okay, no, we do have Last Whisper on Trinamir. I like that a bit better. We have, I believe it's going to end up being a Morello's. Yeah, and we can put that on a Sejuani later. I'm liking what's happening.
The belt got Sejuani to ult there. Like, that was one of the few times I've actually seen an item get slammed like at the last second like that and actually affect the fight as pivotedly as it did, as it gave just enough HP for that Shyvana to ult and end up doing a ton of damage as Noster is on that win streak. ACommonQuail has lost quite a bit since we last saw them. Keepers do fall off. I mean, it's pretty much like jumping right off of a cliff when you're playing keepers, depending on where if you have a mage heavy lobby, then you're probably okay, but we don't. So I think the keepers are gonna hold on for a little while, but once these units get tanky enough to survive past those initial shields, they're gonna start to struggle a little bit, especially since that 6 keeper and Kennen got 6 keeper didn't get nerfed, but Kennen got nerfed, which in turn nerfed the keeper comp, blah blah blah.
Yeah, wait, didn't 6 keeper get nerfed as well?
Did it get nerfed?
Yeah, it did actually. Yeah, from 275 to 250.
Okay,
is
so
the shut amount there. So yeah, it did, and the Kennen as well. So yeah, multiple of those things. Zan Syed actually is going to win that round and get the fortune payout because of it. Ooh, let's see. Can drop the fortune right now.
There's a spat too.
Yeah, there's a spat. It could be a Dragon Soul spat. This is okay. I want to see it. Oh,
two Nikos and 3/5 cost units.
Yeah, the set out of all units to get with the Brawler composition. Now we can level up. We can roll. Whoa. Okay. I was gonna say. I feel like we want to get the Shyvana 3 going here. Over the set 2. But we can maybe Dragon Soul the set potentially.
Ooh,
put another one in there. Make sure that both the set and the Shyvana will benefit. Maybe that's not going to be as good as I. Yeah, it's not like amazing.
The Vanguard spat, because you can fit in an Ornn or something as well at this point in time, because Vanguard spat on someone like Swain or Set is just another way to get a potential second ult. Or
speaking of Set,
we're picking first, and the spat is right there. This is the force of nature. So yeah, it doesn't matter where we're gonna go, and this is best case scenario right now. 2 Nikos help. So the thing about Zan though is it has been a lack of intention. Right, the analysis paralysis, and this cannot happen here. So, but at least with brawlers, I feel like it's at this point a tad color by numbers.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say
for this comp, so we're gonna be okay, but it's definitely something to look at.
For sure, but as I was gonna say, in this scenario, your line is right in front of you. You're not gonna deviate from it. You know what you're gonna run. It's gonna be put the fawn onto the Kennen, sell the Kennen, roll down, put the Swain in. We can take out the Zillion, put another Dragon Soul in as well. But really, we just want to find at least one more Shyvana.
Oh my goodness!
At least 2.
We can
put that in. It makes it a bit awkward because you have so many units that want to go in the front line. I guess Nunu should be picked up here. Okay, great. A set as well. Oh, okay. Nicoing one of the sets here. I'm still not really sure how much I like that. I'd rather greed it out. I think we're already strong enough at stage 4 to just be chilling with a Shyvana 2 and 8 Brawler. But they don't want to lose any more HP. I don't really fault them for that, but I think we could have greeded out just a bit longer to find everything.
Yeah, we probably would have won anyway.
Yeah, I don't think that really makes the difference here.
And in TFT, it tends to be the name of the game, which is consolidate power, don't split it, right? And when it comes to Nikos, that's not as like 1 + 1 = 2 as I think it is for some other things like itemization. But a set 2 now versus a set 1 with I mean, we got the Shiv. We got the Shyvana, right? So we could have had Shyvana 3. Now we have to wait, right? And I think Shyvana 3 going to do more than the set 2, which is going to do more than the Lee Sin potentially as well. But now we just have a bum Nikos on the bench. Like, I get the idea there. It's just generally, if you're kind of iffy about whether to use something, it's usually better to use everything on one thing rather than split it up in TFT. That's not always the case, but in this situation, I don't think splitting that power was a good idea. As you said, I think they would have won those rounds anyway.
Yep, super agree with you. I think this round would have been a 1 anyway, even if that roll down didn't just happen. I think not only do we not need to use the Nikos, but we also didn't need to roll down as aggressively. Could have saved our gold for post Raptors and had like 30 gold to roll with. Be able to maybe hit a set and a Shyvana, or 2 Shyvanas, excuse me, and just Nico to make both of them tier 3. But now we're in the awkward spot where we need yet another Shyvana on not a lot of gold. And we still have to tier 2 the Cho'Gath, the Nunu, the Tahm Kench, the Maokai. The Vi is already tier 2, so that's kind of doesn't need to be on the bench there. But still a long way to go. But even still, with being a long way to go, we have a lot of strength here with this comp, and a lot of items coming through here now as well. Wow, what is this going to be? It could be like double locket. It could be a chalice as well on top of that. It could be GA, probably. It could be like GA for the Lee Sin. We'll have to see here.
So just throwing it out there, we also rolled past a set earlier after Nicoing it. Like, we could have already had our team comp done. At this point in time, hindsight is 2020. That's something definitely to VOD review, but that's definitely one of those moments where I would love to see the roll down again and kind of see and talk through.
That's
you can tell we're TFT players, right? We see a chosen Kale and the world stops.
It's like, oh.
Yeah.
I mean, there was like a QSS, a Rage Blade there potentially. Oh, a Static Shiv. We're seeing one. Thank you.
And Kook, even though Zan is playing 8 brawlers right now, we decided to go a separate direction. We're going to go the Sivir instead. ACommonQuail is going to get taken down. The Giant Slayer doing a lot of work there.
Giant Slayer definitely doing a lot of work, and it's going to do surely a lot of work when going up against those brawlers later on. I saw this transition, I was like, it looks a little awkward, but really, it's not as awkward as I thought. The Sivir is still going to be doing a lot of work here. It is going to fall off, so we need more, but it's still a good starting point. And now with the item remover we still have on the bench, we don't need to sell the Aurelia, could still play it, but I guess it's not really providing too much, so he's end up selling it, buying another one, and putting this Morello's on the Aatrox, in fact.
Love it. I think Aatrox does too much damage. And it's actually gonna put... Oh, interesting. A lot of people, I think, make the assumption that the only thing that gets tagged is the chains, but it's an AoE ability and actually tagged a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Not going to end up winning that round because of it, but definitely something to note is that Morello's is going to tag everyone who is around that Aatrox, which is at least 4 people at tier 2.
Yep. It is going to be pretty good there as an item holder. Maybe we keep it on there as well. We don't have the Sejuani for that secondary Vanguard. Do just have the Braum right now. I don't think Kook is going to end this game in first or second, judging off of this board here. But we might see a narrow top 4. The HPs are so close this game right now, though. 42 in first place down to 19 in last. Like, that's a pretty low gap for it being 5-3.
Totally. This is another one of those lobbies. Remember, actually, at the beginning of today, we both were like, I think the lobbies are just going to naturally be closer because of what the meta is. And it has happened in all 3 lobbies so far. So, just the natural tempo of how the game is balanced and done here on full display in a great way, as Kook gonna take the dub over Infernix, who's having a little bit of a rough day for Infernix. But 34 HP at the top of the leaderboard truly means that this is anyone's game. ACommonQuail needs to finish 4th or higher to maintain record pace.
Yeah, at least tying the record pace.
Beat it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. As you're saying, Bon Apple Tea 2 HP right now, on the cusp of being eliminated. That would be their 8th or 3rd 8th of the day. So definitely want to avoid that if possible. But this game is just so close, man. Like every single matchup, if it goes the wrong way, if you scout incorrectly, if you guess the wrong matchup positioning wise, it can, result in like multiple placements of difference.
Yep. Okay, and everyone poor too, right? Everyone doesn't have money, and that's because everyone has low HP, right? So everyone's probably investing everything on every round, maybe except Zan, because we're on a win streak, right? So Zan has the flexibility of waiting until they lose a round, right? But that
Yep.
Brawler comp doing a good job, and like the lobby again, not incredibly powerful. I mean, last lobby we had that Samir too. We had like a bunch of 5-cost units. We had fully stacked Olafs and blah blah blah. In some previous lobbies, we have the Shyvana 3 right now for Syed. So that is going to be the comp right now, especially with that Shojins on that Lee Sin too. That's going to be very very interesting. But never count out these sharpshooters.
Until they're dead.
Until they're dead. A Sivir and a Kale can beat 4 people out of nowhere. So even in that situation, that Sivir could have popped off potentially if it was at tier 3.
Yeah, Pineapple T and Oolong T are out in 8th, and then in 7th, and Phoenix finds a Cho'Gath too, but it's still 4 HP right now. Zan Syed, fortunately, everything did work out, even with maybe rolling a bit too aggressively earlier, has now found that Shyvana 3, Swain 2, has, of course, the Set 2, and that is going to be the comp to beat right now, of course, being at the top and on that win streak.
Okay, this is as tight as a lobby can get, and we're very lucky that it's been a couple lobbies in a row so far. Just like this, coming down to the last couple rounds. I don't think we're going to reach round 7, so we're in our last 5 rounds of this lobby, and Kook only 3 HP remaining. No brawlers, maybe no top 4, even though we are trying to get there. It looks like, oh no, that was a ACommonQuail losing there, and it's going to be Noster as well, coming off of that fortune payout. Again, I didn't really see anyone with a ton of money, so everyone just investing in every round. Shrouded Stillness, though, is a game-changing item in the late game.
Yeah, especially if it's utilized to hit a whole clump of people, maybe like say a Sejuani and she doesn't get her ulti off or something, or gets off too late. That could definitely change the course of the fights here. Trap Claw, a good item. Not going to be upset to see that one here. You can right now hold it until the unit that you want to CC right before they cast. You can make sure to stun them, like basically guaranteed. Of course, unless you sell it in subsequent rounds, you can't quite do the same thing. But Noster actually is just going to put it on the Tryndamere. Just wants the defense to be specifically there. Mage Spat on the Olaf. Does that do anything?
We'll see.
I've never seen that.
Maybe it makes them double invulnerable.
Maybe it increases the attack speed or the stats, other stats twice. I don't know.
That Olaf is gonna ult. That little bit of the tier is gonna make sure that happens. Maybe we put it on because the tier just helps us transform a little bit earlier, and it's gonna help us against things like that Azir. Here we go. I don't really see a difference.
Chat says does double the attack speed, so I guess that makes sense that it would provide that. And yeah, it looks like it did because that Olaf was attacking very, very fast. Very interesting. I haven't seen it before, but yeah, that is an interesting little adaptation to make because there's only so many items that you can put onto both Olaf and onto Tryndamere. So getting the utilization out of that. Kook is going to be falling in 6th. This lobby is still so close. 2 HP for ACommonQuail, 4 for Infernix, 4 for kstan.
ACommonQuail started this lobby with that keeper comp at 100 HP and is finally going to get that Recon 3. I actually played Recon against Noster in that lobby that I was talking about earlier with a fully, defensively itemized Recon with like RFC and Frozen Heart, so that can definitely get enough time for your backline to do whatever it wants, but it cannot get bursted down. That Frozen Heart on that Recon will be good, as Noster is going to be going up against a Ghost, it seems like, and the Ace going to be left alone for now. Look how quickly that Olaf is.
Wait, that Olaf's actually insane. Is
yeah,
Mage Olaf this?
I know. Is this meta? Is this best in slot?
It's looking real strong right now. My eyes have been opened, have an awakening right now, Boop. I want to try this right now. ACommonQuail is going to be out though in 5th. It looks like, unless the Phoenix loses to a bunch of units, but no. So no record-setting pace here.
So that's unfortunate. That would have been awesome to be able to come and be like, hey, on my first ever. Yeah, actually, I believe New Mono actually did tie the record his first day.
Yeah.
But outside of that, should still be proud of this. Still in top 1 contention.
4 HP for 3 players right now. Noster, the only person that maybe has a second life here. Will Noster be able to beat Zan Syed because they are definitely strong. The Olaf, though. It's living.
The Olaf
it gets taken
Slayer
out.
buff look like it might have been enough, but it will not be. It's going to be all up to this Asol instead, which has already fallen, running around every which direction.
Ooh.
So much HP loss, everyone in single digits right now. And Phoenix is going to fall. We have our top 3.
Oh man, there was 4 people for a moment there, single digits, 4, 4, 4, and 2. Noster is gonna be getting first pick here along with kstan. Unfortunately, Zan Syed does lose out the 50-50 there. Noster still doesn't know what they want. Maybe it's a G. Oh, it's gonna be the Shroud. Zan Syed? Okay, now he's gonna be like, oh wait, I only have a few seconds to pick. What's it gonna be? It's the GA on the Yone.
This is exciting. 2 eliminations could possibly happen depending on how they do against the Ghost. kstan is going to hit level 9. Noster is at 2. It's nice to see Zan and kstan succeed here as they've been middling the rest of the day. So let's see how this is going to finish.
Rolling for... what are we even rolling for here? I guess a Jax 2 or just a legendary that we want to put in instead, like this Lee Sin. And the Lee Sin will be picked up, will be put onto the board here. Shroud on the bench. It's going to be put onto that clump there, and that's a huge Shroud. Will it make the difference, though?
Okay, and Shroud, when there's that many people, will find some type of value, but it needs to find value on the right people. That Kalista in the backline making things pretty complicated, but needs to start attacking in order to get there. That RFC never made it onto a KL, but didn't need to, as Noster is going to fall. Will there be a double elimination here?
Looks like no. Looks like Zan Syed actually, the set prevailed. We'll have one more round. Aurelian sold 2 now. Oh man, look at this comp here. 3 Dragon Soul, 3 Mage, 3 Elderwood, and 8 Brawler here. 10 units on the field. This is such a good endgame composition here.
You know, maybe greeting out and splitting out those Nikos was the right idea here. As,
maybe.
This is one of the, beef is what's for dinner for this team comp. That is a lot of HP to cut through.
Yeah, definitely so. Maybe it's gonna be the final round of the game here. Can the Kalista prevail against these 8 brawlers? The Mage Cap Swain coming through as well. That's so much HP on that Swain.
Last battle of the day. Is the Kalista in the back line going to be the carry? We talked about earlier in the day that it could possibly be the difference maker, especially with that GA, but that Swain transformed just in time as kstan is going to fall and Zan is going to win that lobby. That was very close. Another close one for sure. Zan should feel very, very good about that. This is an appropriate reaction.
Definitely. Amazingly played there. That composition brought it back. And I think we're going to have a quick score update here in but a few moments because I'm excited to see how this the scores shape up after there was an unfortunate bottom 4 there for ACommonQuail, but still in the lead by 4 points. And Syed actually jumping up to second with that placement there. 17 points apiece for KEWK and Noster. These scores, they're starting to be pretty close here.
Yeah, and because these scores are getting to be pretty close, we're going to take a quick break, a little scheduling change before that 4th lobby. We'll be back very soon.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. Just a quick break that we had, but we are back into the
Mhm.
action here in a few moments. Going to be loading on into game number 4, Boop. But ACommonQuail, even with the 5th place performance there, is still ahead by 4 points. Are we going to see some of that game number 4 final lobby yips right now, or are we going to see a strong finish here for ACommonQuail? That's the question on my mind, and I'm sure a lot of players there, or a lot of viewers at home.
My honest opinion about this is a new player, I'm gonna say, is probably gonna have a harder time finding the win here.
Yeah.
But also a new player might come in here and be like, whatever. And and like, you know how many times we've done that final interview and then that person was like, actually this week, I took it easy, I
Yeah,
relaxed,
true.
I like took mental health break, and I came back in and I was
Yeah.
great. And that could totally happen. I mean, when I was a piano teacher and we would do recitals and stuff, I would always tell my students to not play the day before the recital, right?
Hmm.
Like leave the best performance for that day. And sometimes coming into it with like a lack of expectations, right? For
Yeah.
example, if you're in Phoenix, your expectations to get top 3. If you're a common quail, you're literally happy to be here, and to then on top of that be so dominant, like that is
Yeah.
it's bon appetit, right?
Expectations, while they are good, they can definitely be a dangerous thing. I myself have fallen into that trap before. Expectations turn into pressure, and that pressure turns into playing to not lose as opposed to playing to win. And that whole mentality shift there can get real messy. And mentality is a big thing when it comes to TFT because honestly, a
Sure
lot
is.
of players are subject to tilt in TFT, and it's a game of RNG where if something just doesn't go your way, it's easy to feel pretty bad about that. So players who oftentimes just kind of take a break, take it easy, or just playing as they usually do, they're not as prone to tilt. They often play better because of it. So I
Mhm.
yeah, definitely agree.
Yeah, you roll, over 100 gold for a unit, and then it's hard to not take that personally.
Yeah,
You know what
right.
I mean? It like
For
even though
like
there's
4 units and you don't hit any of
I
them.
know, and then like you keep rolling, and you're like, is it my computer? Like, do I need to change my IP address? Like, what's going on?
Is Mark talking a
And
personal vendetta against me? Like
well, there are certain no, but there are actually some games out there that the devs can like go in and change in real time to
yeah,
make certain runs more difficult or not. It tends to happen in the horror genre
yeah,
a lot, but still pretty cool. I don't
yeah.
think the Mort God is one of those. As much as I think a lot of us would love. I mean, the Mort God is the eternal scapegoat, right?
Yeah,
So, well, none of it is actually his fault. All of it is as well. So,
definitely. Yeah.
but I have to say this every single time. One, it's been brought to my attention that apparently Mort and I sound moderately similar, and I was like, but he's got a beard, and then I was like, that doesn't matter on how you sound. And then
Oop, are
two,
you okay? Hello?
I know, right? That for some reason that was my first reaction. I listened, I was like, yeah, kind of. I totally see it, and the fact that I share a singular quality with Mort made me more confident in myself. I think he's a really
I
great game dev. I've
oh
worked at
yeah.
game companies, I've worked with game devs, and Mort is straight up one of the best out there. We're
Oh
really
yeah,
lucky.
Martin's a treasure, especially with like the willingness to deal with just the community as much as as he has and is. I will never be able to sing enough praise as to where that really deserves. Like by far, being professional player over multiple games, it's been a delight to have more dog as a TFT dev, one of the most hardest working, engaging people out there. And so,
Yeah.
Boop, I understand why you think that sharing a trait with more, gives you some confidence. So
No, he can't have the same voice as me. He's got a beard. What am I?
I'm just like, what? I'm like trying to make sense of that in my mind.
It doesn't, but that's how my mind works. Okay, so this is really interesting. So
Oh,
Kook actually gets that Shyvana, and Kook is
ooh,
a brawler player. We
yeah,
we hit the Nautilus right after, but we can't assume the Cho'Gath is going to come until way later. So you'll actually see some Fabled players skip some of those units in the early game
yeah,
outside of the Nautilus. Oolong, who we haven't really checked in much so far, but has been again middling, is going to be going with this Tristana with Morellos. Tristana with AP items to hold seems to be the kind of secondary unit to do it if you don't get that chosen Italy.
Yeah, and Oolong was doing great in the first 2 games. They got 4th and a 2nd. The last game did get a 7th, so they're a bit behind, but still, with a good performance in this game, could very well find their way into the top 3. And the top 3 position is pretty up for grabs. There's 2 players tied at 17, a player at 16, then 12, or then 14, then 12. And honestly, even the 12 point player could make their way into top 3 if the game, goes in that direction there. So 7 out of the 8 players here really going to be giving it their all in this game number 4 here. Only one kind of outside of the money range.
Ooh. Okay, so ACommonQuail is trying to extend the lead, right? I believe if ACommonQuail just finishes in 5th, they're fine in first place.
It should be fourth. Yeah, 4th is a guaranteed first place. Actually, they'll win unless Zan Syed wins again. Maybe the tiebreaker is because they'll both have 2 wins. Tiebreakers could get really wonky there. I let the admins deal with that. Thank you, admins, for dealing with those situations.
Yeah.
But as long as you get 4th, if you get 3rd, it's guaranteed. 4th, it's very, very, very probable that you'll win. So there's not an insane amount of pressure, I would say, because even if you do get a 5th, there is still, it's still likely for you to have a good shot of winning.
Man, remember when tier 2 Nasus with those items could literally 1v5 a board? Yep. Back in the day. I actually think Nasus can maybe even use a little smidgen of power. It's one of those things like when people say I want Space Jam to be good. Do you guys remember when Space Jam was good, right? Like I even talk about that myself. It's just like I feel like my memory of it was that it was like this amazing thing, but
yeah,
I think
have a little nostalgia for
yeah,
for
but
Space
in
Jam.
reality, I actually remember it being moderately frustrating to play against. There really wasn't a ton of counterplay to it at the time, and they literally added complete counterplay to that comp with a singular unit in the next set with Timo. And so we haven't really seen it in that way, but I do think a little bit of it is nostalgia, but I would love just like a patch cycle of some Space Jam, either to like remind us exactly why we haven't seen Space Jam in so long, or to just give us a little something in the year 2021 where a little bit of extra joy is always welcome.
Oh yeah, it goes a long way. Need some joy in our lives here, and joy, at least I am having here, casting some great TFT action as always with you, Boop.
Awesome. Okay.
Ooh, 3 spots here actually on this carousel. Maybe some duelist kill we'll see yet again. We'll see.
Yeah, duelist kill is terrifying. The attack speed ramp up happens much quicker, and so usually I feel like when Kale transforms, you still have 3 to 4 auto attacks on that rage blade to really get going. With the duelist spat, you're pretty much there once you transform. Plus, if you have divines in there, you're clearing your CC. So that is a big deal when it comes to that Kale. And we have okay items right now. If you're Noster doesn't seem to go that direction. Seems to like the Slayer direction a little bit more.
Yeah.
But also, I think the kind of surprise of today is even with all of that buff at tier 3, Sever pulled off a win on the lobby. Still no Akali to be seen. Still no Vigors to be seen, even though Vigor got a pretty substantial buff at tier 2.
Oh yeah.
And so we are not really seeing any mages at all outside of the random kind of A soul beforehand. No Elderwood. Elderwood is a guaranteed 5th place. In my opinion, if you don't get a spat. And so yeah, those kind of mono comps are doing a little bit worse than they were in the past, but Noster really finding a way to get to a similar kind of Dragon Soul Swain Olaf comp by the end of the day through any means necessary, really. This Morelos tag on that Tristana, though, is actually going to equal a lot of damage.
Yeah, it might not be enough, however, the GA res coming through on that Vladimir, and then the cast happening. Yeah, it's going to be a Noster win here for sure. Oolong going to lose, but 1 HP because only losing to that Galio summon. But I think one of the reasons actually we're not seeing Vygar is unfortunate. I'm pretty sure, I forgot to mention earlier, but Vygar is bugged a little bit right now. Sometimes the cast just kind of go on into the nether. and don't actually do anything.
Okay.
And yeah, and Mort and the team, I believe, have responded on Twitter and stuff, and so like they're aware of it, but it's kind of like a hard bug to track down. To whereas the one about the Chosens at level 7, the one cost Chosens at level 7 was a bug that was addressed and dealt with, but the Vargar one, I believe, is still in there. So we might see more of that once it is fixed, but people not opting for it for now.
Thanks for that clarification. Especially at this high level play, you want to be able to control as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so that does make sense. That's unfortunate because the Viger is just one of those units that can like really get you going, right? Like with those kind of pop off scenarios. It can be very cool. It could also be very frustrating, right?
Yeah.
If it's your Viger, you're feeling great. If it's someone else, you're again taking it personally. And so we're not going to be seeing that today, most likely, which almost takes that mage comp out completely, because that is kind of like the mid-game carry that you would need to get to your ASOL.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. So let's move off of that, as we're not going to see it. The other thing we're not seeing, again, is that Akali and those ninjas. As you said before, I think we've only seen one ninja comp in... I've seen 2 in all of competitive play in this set, and it actually top 4 both times, but it was like a solid 3rd place.
Yeah, it's very specific. Things have to go right, and even if so, you're playing for a top 4, and maybe like like probably that 3rd at best kind of scenario there. So unlikely to see it unless all the stars align for it, really.
Okay, speaking of stars aligning,
Double bow.
We might say hello to our friends Ollie and Kyle.
A
little pretty soon, which are Olaf and Kale. RFC
Ollie and Kyle.
Ollie and Kyle.
Kyle, of course. I haven't heard Ollie though. I don't think.
Yeah, I'm doing the bone apple tea thing. That's like the whole point of that subreddit. By the way, it's like it's just like it has to be like vaguely adjacent. Or like I remember one time I was a preschool teacher, and we were doing this little drawing thing, and I wanted them to all draw what their favorite thing was, and I didn't want them to like cheat and look on each other's papers, because sometimes little kids will just draw what other people are drawing, because
sure,
you know. And so I told them all to keep their eyes on their own paper, and like literally 3 of the kids put their eyes on the paper. Like we're trying to like put their eyes on the paper, and then you realize, 1, English is just a hard language. Like I get it. And 2, I don't remember where I was going with this, but it's a good story. I had a point.
I was hoping
I had a point with like the colloquialisms and stuff. Oh man.
Ollie and things that are adjacent.
Bone apple tea. That would be something that would be like a top 3 post on Bone apple tea. Just saying.
We got there, Boop. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I just needed a little alley-oop support.
I got you. I was trying to think. I was like, wait, I was just fully like invested in your storytelling that I like had to rein myself back in and be like, what was it actually that we were talking about? But
it's amazing how much you can get done just by sounding confident. Am I right?
Really, I was invested, Boop. You had me going on a ride there. And you know who has a ride going for them? It's Zan Syed with a 100 HP ride. That 6 win streak going on here. They are in a very dominant position here. 4 duelist as well, i.e. with the Thieves Gloves roll on the Yasuo here. Pretty solid. Can they keep it going though?
Yeah, I mean, early on, this Warmogs is actually very, very nice for a unit like Yasuo, especially if you're just going to combo it with the IE. Like, if this game was a game in which you can kind of move items every so often, right? Yeah, I think you would see more things like Warmogs at the beginning of the game for some of our squishier carries instead of Titans or Resolve, because that has a little bit more late game potential, right? And then we can move the Warmogs on to someone else later. But that's not the game we're on, right? You have to commit. Right now, that Thief's Gloves is going to be okay. Without that Warmogs, again, I do believe that Yasuo doesn't kill a couple units, but the Annie was always going to be tough to go through. And the good thing about Yasuo is, while he's not going to be doing a ton of damage right now, that Bramble Vest is going to help against the Kallistas, the Tristanas, and the Kales that might start popping up here around this time.
Yeah, definitely. The redemption, a little unfortunate here. Don't really like it because you want Yasuo to be alive long to do damage. You don't want him dying because who else is going to do damage at that point, even if you heal them. But even still, Zan Syed is in a pretty good spot overall here. Noster already committing the Runans, the Last Whisper, and the GA. That can go onto a Tryndamere, that can go into an Olaf, that can go into a Sivir. We got a lot of options there, so I like these flexible items being committed to give you an early advantage, to give you that win streak, and yeah, 92 HP on a win streak. Actually, though, Zan Syed, it's looking close. Janna 2, still alive, throwing out shields, hits 3 targets, might be a win here.
Definitely can be. It's going to be up to this TF. It's going to kill. Oh, no. The shield coming right at the right time. That double support Yuumi with the Janna enough. I mean, that's going to work on Summoner's Rift. It's going to work on TFT, right? So
yep.
We're going to see that happen. Sword on the Kale, too. So that's going to go early if someone has that open. Seeing that ACommonQuail actually goes for tier means that the Kale's not really an option. We get the bow with the Akali. No one really going for this Kale with the sword so far.
Yes, thought it would go early. It's actually going to be left until last. I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, I thought it would have been gone pretty early as well, but it looks like OolongT for me. 99 HP. You get a Kale with a sword on stage 3 carousel. That doesn't happen every day.
I know. I mean, even for someone like Oolong, who's in first, that 4 gold is really nice if you end up selling it. Plus a Lucky Lantern, so your sword's going to be able to go with something else potentially. Oh, we get target dummies now, though. Do you want to kind of wax poetic on some target dummy shenanigans?
Yeah, sure. It does provide either a bit of a front line. If you're lacking that, it provides the potential for an Aurelion Soul bait. If anyone was running that, you're going to stick it into a corner. It's, you know, kind of similar to a Azir Soldier in that way. You can also use as Aatrox bait. Aatrox pulls in a couple units, the furthest away units. You can use it in that regard as well. We are seeing 3 fortune here for ACommonQuail. And are you going to be stuck in fortune jail, or are you cashing out? Let's see right now. This cat does jump into a very, very good spot here.
As good as it gets.
Yeah.
Especially with the Hextech Gunblade, roll damage, so you're get that life steal, but that positioning is going to help win out. This is perfect timing. You see that ACommonQuail has no gold, and that is because the expected fortune payout, which came at 8 losses, is going to come in. So what do you think we're going to get? I think we're going to get some Thieves Gloves.
I hope we...
Thieves Gloves, 2 5-cost units, 1 item, and gold.
Oh, we do get his Tahm Kench 3, and that's committed to.
Okay,
2 5-cost units, a set and a zillion.
All right,
3 6.
1 for
Pretty
1. If we get the 2
good.
Thieves Clubs,
a Nico, another zillion.
Okay,
yeah.
So
we could have a zillion 2 on 3 6. The potential for that is there.
Yeah, true.
Not gonna happen, but
no. Hey, we could potentially fit in a cultist comp from here on out, but you're not going to build it around the Zillion. The reason why Zillion is a cultist mystic is because you wouldn't build around like that 5-cost unit around that cultist comp. So what you can do is potentially put a duelist bat on them. This Katarina, though, right now is going to be functioning as, I mean, the secondary carry, with this Tahm Kench being a little bit of a tank carry in the front line. I mean, Thomas.
Oh no, I'm gonna lose here.
Yeah, Thomas has gone to work out, going to the gym. I think forgot leg day, and unfortunately is gonna. This is it. Enough ramp up on that Rage Blade. It was close, but Sir Thomas is gonna have to go back, make another menu, and see if the food's gonna taste better the second time around.
So oftentimes when you tier 3 1-cost units, it's going to be to keep them, and ACommonQuail says, nope, I don't need to. I thought, actually, funny that I say it as it happens, I thought that decision was going to happen a bit later, but it does happen now. But it's just a great unit to have, because he was rolling down. You might as well go for it. You're selling it later, only losing 1 gold. Like, sure, it's going to be okay to sell that and then move the items over, because we're going for Warlord commitment here. We're going to be going, another spatula. We could get another Warlord spat.
Get a belt? Okay,
yeah.
Fine. Duelist. No. Oh, no, and Dragon Soul. Those are all not... I guess we can make a Duelist spat.
Yeah, not the worst. It is going to synergize with that Tryndamere. As well, we leveled a 7 here, rolling it down a little bit. We get Assassin buff in, which is nice to complement that Katarina. No more Fortune right now, which is okay. I thought ACommonQuail was going to keep Fortune in a little bit longer with that Tahm Kench. Wasn't the case. Awkward to commit to anything here. The tier being on the Katarina is a little bit awkward. Maybe another Hodge is going to be had there, but no like QSS potential. We have a Reforger, but we don't want to use that on the Katarina as well because these two items that she does have are very, very good. Unfortunate healing roll on the Hodge there. She really wants to roll damage every single round, but Gunblade Warlord spat set, super, super good.
This is a yikers round for ACommonQuail. That Kennen ult. That's the thing about assassins, right? Like
countered by Kennen.
Countered by Kennen. Always has been, unless you get through the Kennen. Same thing with the Olaf. If you get him before he ults, you're most likely going to win that round. The Kennen is the same thing here. That's why you build things like GA on that Kennen. I believe is that an ionic spark on that Kennen as well, which is very interesting. But against things like Katarina, that's actually really nice because Katarina ults gets tagged with the magic resist debuff. Kennen ults, and instead of maybe just getting CC'd, you actually get the kills instead.
Yeah, Yone in the shop here, but probably can't grab that one. Does end up selling both the Zillions. You're actually not going to want to fit Cultists or Mystics into here because obviously Warlords is the game plan. I think ACommonQuail right now needs to kind of chill out, save a bit of gold, be able to go to level 8, and find a Warlord chosen optimally to get that 9 Warlord buff online. Tryndamere has been upgraded, same with Jarvan now, so like the composition is pretty much at its peak right now. Rolling doesn't do too much more, besides from maybe finding Katarinas, but now we're going to be winning this round, so not too shabby here. Buy the Yone just because you can. You're not making econ, but we want to get that third item on Katarina. I think it's going to be double Hodge, so being able to pick that up on stage 4 carousel is going to be big.
And I like picking up the 5-cost units. You're not going to make econ anyway, right? And so this Yone is on the bench, and so it's not going to go anywhere else, right? And Yone is a contested unit, especially if you have a duelist package or if you're running that Tryndamere, right? So, which means you might have a Shen. Like this comp could use a Yone, right? With, I guess not since it was a chosen adept, but the idea is definitely there. So you're keeping it from other people as well, and I would actually love to see that happen more often. I think the most famous person to do it on Fight Night was Loco Doco, who blocked team comps, not just 5-cost units. It was actually really, really cool to witness. Haven't really seen it since then. Tier 2 Tryndamere, no items though, is still gonna slap. And if you're gonna do Warlords, I feel like this is the way to do it, is gonna be with that Tryndamere carry.
Yeah. Tryndamere carry gonna be insane. We do see it played with just standard Slayer compositions a lot of the time. OolongTeaForme still playing a Tristana with Morellos and Deathcap at stage 4 and doing pretty well because of it. Still 80 HP even after losing that last round. We'll see what item they want here. I didn't get a chance to take a look at what items they actually had on board. Looks like they want a sword on the Sejuani, or maybe it's actually the belt.
This is also the first time we've seen like a real separation of HP between the leader and the rest of the lobby. And so I'm really intrigued on if Oolong is gonna equalize HP for economy or keep investing and pushing, right?
Yeah.
We actually have some good items on that Tristana. Interesting that we commit to the Rabadon's Death Cap, but it is going to help, right? Tristana is the definition of death by 1,000 paper cuts when it comes to that ult. So you're going to be able to do a lot of work. You're not going to put a Bloodthirster on Sivir, right? Bloodthirster, I think you can make the argument, is one of the low tier items in the game, especially since 2 different synergies give you a little bit of lifesteal. So I think that maybe that's why the value not quite there. But with everything else on the bench right now, especially since we locked in that Morellos and Rabadons, very interesting item components for Oolong. This Wolf round, I think, is going to have to give a little bit more direction.
This is a great comp here from Noster, utilizing 2 very strong 3-cost carries. I don't really personally give enough credit to Kennen there, especially with being tier 3 now, having that Morellos, having a GA, Ionic Spark as well to pair. I think it provides some good synergy just with that unit. But that's going to be super good. Even though only level 7, you have now time to econ, go back to 8, find that Sivir upgrade as well. But looking more at Oolong T's composition here, they use the Reforger on the belt they got off of Carousel to try to find the vest. The vest got taken away before they were able to grab it. So they do, of course, want the GA. The potential for a Chalice is here. Could slam those 2 items. Maybe wants to wait to see if they can get a Runeans instead, however. I'm just going to wait until after that Raptor round. 50 gold here, already starting to level up to level 8. OolongT is in a very good spot here.
That Aatrox. I
Yeah.
saw that Thief's Gloves roll and I was like, I cannot wait for this ult. There's something so satisfying about that ult, like in a ASMR type of way. I don't like ASMR, but like that's still like shoulder chill that people talk about. Like I get that
Yeah.
with Aatrox ult for some reason. I don't. It's just, you know, those YouTube videos of like kinetic sand getting cut, and it's just like, that's what I see.
Yeah, the like satisfying, like
yeah,
like,
that's what I feel.
It's a Reddit, I think, like oddly satisfying or something like that.
Exactly,
Like,
that's what
yeah.
I feel with Aatrox's ult, and then to also see damage
I feel
on
you.
top of that, it's
Yeah.
like it's so well designed. And again, I got to keep giving credit to the design. A little strong on the damage, maybe, but I think in terms of the unit, super cool unit. The numbers are where, you know, I think the debate would be, and that's where it should be, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Rageblade now. Or
Maybe.
2 hats on Tristana.
I don't. Okay, we might see 2 hats because I think we're gonna see Runeans and GA on that Olaf. What other items left over? Right then, it's going to be a Hodge, and then a Cap. That's what's left over. If those are the items that OolongT goes for, we gotta see if that's actually gonna be the case here. A lot of transition has to happen right now. Okay, let's see it. Boop. There's the GA. Is it Hodge or Runeans?
I would go Runeans.
Runeans, yep.
Yeah.
Hodge. And then
please do it.
Death Cap.
Please do it. I just want to see it. I just want to see it. No, this on. You're thinking.
Yeah, we see it.
This is thrilling stuff.
And they lose.
Yeah, and you're gonna lose, but it's because there wasn't a second sharpshooter. All right, once we get a second sharpshooter in, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
I have literally
hey, there's still another Trist. There's still another Trist.
There is still another Trist. Yep. Exactly.
More Olaf, Tryndamere.
We got to live the dream of the double hat for 1 round, maybe 2. Where is this Reroll gonna go? I guess you could put it on Pipe. Sejuani, yeah. And then the Hodge will go on Asol? Double hat Hodge Asol?
Double hat Hodge Asol. It's gonna be the move for now, it looks like. And watch this ult. Talk about oddly satisfying. This is gonna be real satisfying seeing all this damage come through right now.
Unfortunately for KEWKTV, it's allergy season here. And
okay, I mean,
underwhelming.
Yeah, it rolled healing, so maybe when it rolls damage, we'll see it do a bit better. I was expecting big numbers there, like at least over 1,000, but I think it was like 800 or 900 or something damage coming out there.
Imagine if it was 2 hats and a jeweled gauntlet, right? That's where I think we would see a lot. A tier 2. So the Bash Bros coming back in style. That Tryndamere and that Olaf. This time around, it's going to be. It seems like if you have the Last Whisper components, you go the Tryndamere direction. If you have the Deathblade components, you go the Olaf direction. But honestly, they both can use both things. But Tryndamere is going to find substantially more value out of that Last Whisper, to be completely honest with you, because the fact that his ultimates do crit automatically.
I kind of like this adaptation. Oolong's saying, I'm not really going to get Sejuani 2. There's probably too many Sejuanis out of the pool, but putting them Rellos on Set here. If Set gets an ult off, which, I don't think actually did. I think he got counter ulted. He's doing setups in the middle of the room for some reason here. But still going to win, I think, on the back of that Olaf there. But if Set does get an ult off, he will apply Morellos oftentimes faster than a Sejuani will there. And there's potential to tier 2 him. There is another set on the carousel right now. ACommonQuail maybe is eyeing it right now, and yes, does pick that up here. Moving on over to Zan Syed's perspective with a Kale composition. Seeing the Divines and the Executioner synergies on the left-hand side there. Getting a Shiv, buff Shiv, hell yeah.
You know, to put a little credit into Shiv, At the end of the day, it is a way to tag a lot of people with a little bit of damage. And in a game like TFT, 10 to 100 HP really does matter.
Yeah, it does.
Especially when you've got something like a Yuumi on the team that might be able to proc the Shiv a little bit quicker. Where's it going to go? Probably on... It could be... Okay, so I like this because we got the Spirit buff as well. So we are going to get quite a bit of damage from the Shiv.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I believe it
No.
debuffs magic resist now, right? And this comp doesn't necessarily have a ton of magic damage outside of the Kindred and the Aatrox.
Kale just does have damage herself, I think, and it's going to be pretty impactful, I think. Great Zephyr here, actually. Hitting the Olaf there for Oolong T. Can the Kale do enough work here, I guess is my question. Ooh. Divine proc comes through and lives through the Aurelion Soul. Now gets procced into GA form, however, though.
I also... man, that was really unfortunate because I don't know if you noticed, but Kale also got Trap Clawed during that round. So if Kale ults in the first auto attack hits something like a Trap Claw, I believe it does stun you out, and that's a big reason why we actually lost there. As Bon Apple T does not get 4/8 in a row, but kstan is also going to fall in 6th place. 6, 7, 8, 27, 48. And at this point in the game, 20-point lead is huge for someone like Noster.
Noster, I believe, is within striking distance of getting into that top 3 with this performance. It's looking pretty likely. ACommonQuail, if they do get 4th here, it's looking pretty good. Zan Syed, though, KEWK and ACommonQuail might be eliminated here. Let's see what happens as the cannon is taking out the whole entire composition there, and Azaya in the back line. Yeah, that's going to be a massive loss there. See if anyone else is eliminated.
Look at the reaction. Like, yeah, I would be reacting exactly the same way. That was a picture. That was like a clickbait, seconds before disaster roll. Is the Beetle? Did the Beetle?
Oh, dodged? Oh.
I think Beetle 1v1s are some of the most thrilling content in TFT, by the way.
Especially when they win.
I know, right? Because it doesn't happen. Especially, remember when Beetles could 1v3 back in the day? When it scaled with level? Do you remember that?
ZZ Rot kind of it was kind of busted for a little while.
Yeah, there was like a double ZZ Rot build that you would do in the front line for some people in the Wild West of TFT. Looking at these Nexus minions, GA, I saw a Thornmail. I also saw a Jeweled Gauntlet. And with ACommonQuail and KEWK at 7 and 8 HP respectively, they actually can both get eliminated on this next round. I personally like it when the 3rd place is an elimination matchup. So ACommonQuail and KEWK might end up in an elimination match together. We'll find out here very soon.
Yeah, we'll see. 5 keepers online. Is it going to be 6? Probably not, seeing as though the chosen there is Executioner. Although, if we find a Jarvan, could be the case.
Okay, we're getting the whole keeper comp in. I like to call this the Kumbaya comp because everyone holds hands, right?
Yeah, sure.
And helps out each other. It's a very like teamwork oriented type of experience. And with the cannon did not get the ult off in time. 2 Jewel Gauntlets apparently better than 2 hats.
Oh man, that's a huge loss there, down to 18 HP. Oh man,
this lobby's so close.
Yeah, the set 2 actually loses out. ACommonQuail getting eliminated, but they are in 4th, however, and I believe with Zan Syed getting 5th, that might secure it here.
Man, I would love to be ACommonQuail right now. Like the bragging rights on the day right now to rip off 2 wins and then top 4 on the last lobby. It's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough to do. This lobby has been a slow rolling type of lobby. It has allowed people to kind of catch up mid game more so than I think some other lobbies, particularly the lobbies we saw over the weekend. As once those Kale comps seem to get online on those particular lobbies, those weren't close fights. Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm very proud of ACommonQuail. I'm excited to talk to them and see how they feel. But we still got to get through these last couple rounds. Who will reign supreme on the very last lobby? And Noster is going to do a lot of damage. And we do have the Viger online right now, and it's going to help win out a round. So 3 HP, 7 HP, and 18. 2 more rounds, folks.
2 more rounds, maybe 1 if someone dies to the ghost as well as in the matchup. Ornn 2 rounds away from getting an artifact here, but Noster might not even need it. This composition is just so powerful. All of these keeper shields, if that Ken ult goes off, that is going to destroy anything around it. 7 mage, we're actually seeing here from Kook, piloting it to some great effectiveness. Aurelion Soul very much hurts. And ooh, the great positioning change here. I think that ult's going to go through the whole team of Noster.
Unless the Sand Soldiers get a little bit too much attention. That Aatrox ult actually might have done more harm than good by the end of the day, but we are going to get that Kennen ult off, and Kennen ult equals win when it comes to Noster's team comp.
Yeah.
Was this enough? No, because it was a ghost. But we are going to get an elimination with Kook, who continues that top 4, 3 out of 4 today.
Yeah.
No wins, but 3 out of 4 top 4s. And it's going to be Oolong versus Noster. 1 more carousel.
I think that matchup, no matter where the Aurelion Soul was, if they had stayed there on the right hand side or got pulled to left, it was going to be a good ulti either way. Because where the Aurelion Soul was positioned to begin with, they wouldn't really get distracted by the Sand Soldiers. They would target the target dummy instead, which does pass through the whole composition there. So it wasn't actually too big of a deal that the Aatrox pulled there. It netted a win either way. So 1 round away here from 1 round away from the artifact. We might not even need it because 6 keepers is now online. The Jarvan was found, and this might seal the deal here for Noster in this game.
Plus, Aatrox and Kennen have insane synergy. Aatrox can be anti-synergy for some people, but not Kennen. Only going to help this Kennen, and it's a race for this Kennen versus this Asol to ult, and the Asol not going to be in the ult until the Aatrox pulls them in. And now it's going to be up for that Olaf, and it looks like the Olaf is going to take the W here. Single digit HP. This is it, folks. 1 more round for today. It's going to be OolongTeaForme against Noster 11. 6-3 HP. 6 keepers versus the Olaf on the other side. And we are going to get our Ornn item. It's going to be the Triforce, which is almost locked onto that Aatrox no matter what. If that was maybe like Azir 2, maybe you put it on the Azir, but this is the right choice.
Yeah, gonna be giving. I mean, you said Aatrox does a lot of damage just baseline. Gonna be doing a bit more damage right now. Some last second positioning swaps. Is it gonna be worth it though? You do lose out on a couple of nice keeper shields. However, the Xayah in a beautiful position as well as the Kennen, but Kennen gets kicked.
I think we wanted the Kennen to be closer to the Asol, but we just needed to trust the Aatrox. And this is going to be very, very close. It's oh my god, is the Static Shiv gonna
Static Shiv?
The Static Shiv. That is maybe enough. Oh my goodness, the Xayah is actually going to avoid the damage twice in a row. The set ults the wrong direction, and Noster is going to win a thrilling last matchup, coming down to single-digit HP. Noster will win out that last lobby. If Set literally was 1 hex to the other side, that Xayah would be dead, but that Xayah avoids 2 ultimates. 2.
That was very true to the lore, actually. The lovers duo, Xayah and Rakan dashing through to protect Xayah from literally everything at all costs, making sure that she was able to secure the victory. Like, that was just like, that was so perfect of an ending there, I think, actually.
Right, and we probably got to see the most valuable Static Shiv in TFT history.
True. We get to see it all here. Get to see it all.
That round, I mean, that, like I said before, remember, sometimes you only need that little bit of damage, right? And that little bit of that tag. And that was definitely the case in that round. We will be getting an interview with our winner. So if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat right now. And we may get to them during the interview. But I'm excited to talk because anytime we get first time people in, we get to start building that narrative, building
Yeah.
that kind of competitive history and see where they're going to go. Because once you win a game, once you win a fight night, you're kind of like, wait a second. You know what I mean? Like, this is a reality. Like, this could
Hmm.
happen for me. If I
Yeah.
can beat these people, why can't I beat these? Right. And
Hmm.
to come in on your first week ever, I'm really, really excited to see what the mindset was coming in. Is it going to be that, I was just kind of taking it easy. It was my first time. And, I think that's why I won, or I prepped really hard. Or are we going to get another new mono who scouted every single person in the lobby and saw, what they played and picked team comps based off of like the lobby and stuff? We've gotten the full gambit. And I'm really intrigued to see what our winner is going to say as we get those final scores up here soon.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, what the scores show as well, because I believe we do know our winner is going to be ACommonQuail, but I think we're working through some tiebreakers maybe with the rest of them, because I think we got another like three-way tie for that third, fourth, fifth slot. Oh man, those tiebreakers that have been so detrimental to Ali in the past on a couple of weeks, maybe
Yeah.
striking somebody else now with the same amount of vengeance. So we'll get those figured out here in just a couple moments. So we're sure we have all the scores calculated correctly. Don't want to have anything incorrect for you all.
Also very crazy day in terms of closeness on all of those lobbies.
Hmm.
I actually noticed that in my regular games too. They just felt like the final lobbies, and this kind of felt this way at the end of last set too, where it would just get so close by the end of the game that what you did in the early game really mattered. That
Yeah.
one unit loss that you had in round 2-1. Well, you're 6-3 now at the at the end of the game, right? And that ended up mattering, right? And
Hmm.
yes, you can find that confirmation bias and stuff when it comes to looking back, right? But I think in the end, this meta is one where I think the early game is impactful, the mid game is impactful, and the late game is impactful. So this has
Yeah.
been quite even so far, as we do have a 30-point total
Yep.
for ACommonQuail as we crown our winner after 4 lobbies today.
Yeah, not bad at all. 30 points on your first fight night. That is a massive, massive deal. Congratulations to ACommonQuail. Going to be trying to get that interview here soon. Noster 11 did take second place there, 27 points. Zan Syed actually did round out the top three here. The tiebreakers. OolongTeaForme gets fourth. Unfortunately, Kook loses out in those tiebreakers and gets fifth. But I believe we may have ACommonQuail on the line right now. Can you hear us?
Guys,
Hello, hello.
I'm not sure my video is
Congratulations.
working, but I don't know.
Oh, that's
That's
cool. We don't need
yeah, I
the
don't
video. You're good to
yeah.
go.
All right.
All right.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats here, ACommonQuail, on winning. And this is your first fight night, I believe, right?
Yeah, it is, and it was a lot of fun, especially when you high roll. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, talk a bit about that for me as well. You high rolling, because we did see in game number 2, you rolled, I believe Boop said it was like 175 something. It was a ridiculous number of gold. You did not hit that silver for
Yeah,
so long.
you guys saw that, right? I was kind of
Yeah.
freaking out on stream because I knew I had a really, really strong board, and I knew it could like potentially win the game or top 2, but I just couldn't hit the silver, right? So I was like selling Vanguard pairs. I was rolling past like Zillion, who I wanted in my comp. I sold like a Shen 2-star. I couldn't find the silver. Because when I hit
Yep.
Silver Chosen, I already had 7 Sivers and a Nico on my bench. So I needed 1 Siver. And I couldn't get it. And I was like, I went down to 6 HP. But
Yeah,
then
we
I
were
found the
8th
Siver and I was like,
place,
it's
6
saved.
HP.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so 175 gold, by the way, at one point, at least on 2 roll downs. I think total
Oh, really?
at the end you were over 100 something gold.
I didn't know it was that much. But then I hit the Samir 2-star after that with the Obsidian Cleaver, so I was feeling pretty good at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was quite the game for you, and it was actually pretty crazy. Did you feel concerned about the nerf at all once you did get to that Sivir? Did you kind of know once you hit it?
I felt a little concerned about not having a defensive item, but I was like, I was looking for a Quicksilver. I didn't really find it, but I read the patch notes. I think it was a 50 damage nerf or something on her ult. She's still kind of insane. And just the board you can build around her, especially when you hit that Samira with the 4 sharps, and you have Cultist, you have Vanguards, Mystic. You've got it all, right? So I think it's still a really strong comp.
Definitely. I want to ask you as well, Well, like your preparation, what was like coming into this fight? And it is your first. Were you feeling a lot of pressure? Did you do a lot of research into your competition? What like compositions did you come in here wanting to run? Kind of break down for us like your preparation here coming into today.
Yeah, basically I've been grinding the ladder and not climbing. But I have been playing a lot.
Same.
Yeah, I
Felt
have been
that.
playing a
Felt
lot
that.
recently, and I don't know. So I think I have a pretty good understanding of the game right now. Um, just in general, I don't always, I'm not always able to pull it off, but when the game just hands you like the type of games, especially like my first two games,
Yeah.
I think I had pretty clear direction. So the last two games were a bit more difficult.
Yeah, and yeah, just quickly before I pass it back to Boop, with all that prep and the grinding, like, were you leaning towards any specific compositions? Like, what is your kind of your comfort zone there?
I don't know. Yesterday I was playing a lot of Kale, so I was like thinking about going for bows and doing Kale carry, but I don't know. I
You
just
know,
did different.
super weirdly, Kale notoriously does not do well at fight night. Wins 6 times in the qualifier, and I don't believe got top 2 today. So, very interesting, team comp here, specifically in these lobbies. But something I like to ask, especially since it's your first time, I believe your Twitter is new, right? So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, are you going to school? Are you in college? How did you get into TFT, and what the future might hold for you?
Well, I just really like auto battlers. I started with auto chess, like the Dota mod back in the
Yeah.
day. So I started taking TFT more seriously a few months ago. I started streaming more so like it was more a fun thing for me. But I'm not working right now anyway, so it's kind of a good thing to do for just to pass the time.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get a bit more competitive. I'm not super high ranked on the ladder, but I am trying to grind that. So hopefully in the future I'll be able to, maybe participate in bigger tournaments like the NA qualifiers or something like that. I didn't qualify this time, but we'll try
Yeah.
next set.
yeah.
This is the start, winning a Fight Night Rising. I mean, you
Sure.
have the potential to be a good competitor, so best of luck to you in the future. Just quick before you go, time for you to have any shout outs if you want to shout out your social media, your Twitch, Twitter, and things of the like.
Well, I don't really have any social media. Just follow my Twitch stream if you want to play. I'm usually playing most nights like really late at night and anytime. Like I start like usually like at 9 p.m. Pacific around then, and then stream all night. So
You're on
thanks,
the
guys.
Hafu schedule.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I like to call that. Well, congratulations. It was super fun watching you play. But you went from high rolls to really having to churn out that
Yeah, I don't know if you guys caught
4K
it, but
there
I
at the end.
hit Tom Kench 3-star and then sold it around later. So that
You
was
Yeah,
did,
oh,
yeah.
I was actually talking a lot about that. I was like, I love this. He's probably gonna sell it later, and then right as I was saying it, sold it right then. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't expect it this soon, but I still love that play. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
always
no,
say
that
don't
was
build
good.
relationships with your units, right? And you
fortune
were
games
able
get a
to
little
do it.
weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. I loved it though. But once again,
Yeah.
congratulations, and we
Thanks,
will
guys.
see you here
We'll see you next
next
week.
week, Common Quail.
See ya.
All right. I always feel like I say let's get a new person interview. I'm like, oh, I like that interview. It's so good. But
Well,
no, I really do. Like every time. Just love having a
we
perspective of these players.
I think part of the reason why people like Soju and other streamers, like Socks even, were so popular is when we see them, when we hear them, they're being them,
Yeah,
right? And
very much so.
um, everyone that we've gotten in here, I feel like really runs that same gambit, right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone has their plan, everyone has their intention, and everyone has their personalities. And it's really cool to be able to highlight that after a win like that because like, when I win something, all I wanna do is celebrate, right? I don't wanna I don't necessarily wanna, talk about it, but it's
Yeah.
so important to do that and be able to explain your processes and stuff. It's how you build your audience. It's how you build your brand and personality. And, the fact that we say it so much tells me that there are some bankable people here in TFT, and that
Oh yeah.
always makes me excited, for the future. Maybe we can get like Cardax and some other people in here for and just do like an interview lobby because there's so many awesome personalities around.
Definitely, man. It's so important. Any player looking to compete, you build your brand. It's so important, especially nowadays. In the esports kind of scene, build your brand, build your brand, build your brands. But I love the excitement coming out from Common Quail. I love the games tonight, Boop. We ended on, I think, a fantastic note. So excited, looking forward into the future.
Totally, Crowan. Right back at you. Don't need to elaborate anymore. First time I've ever said that.
Oh, wow. All
I know.
right. With that, then, a perfect time to come to a close. Thank you all at home for watching. Make sure to give the channel a follow if you haven't already, if you want to see more Fight Night Rising action in the future. But that will do it for us here tonight. Until next week, take care and see you later.